There is a moment at the very end of regular show where the screen goes quiet. The park is empty, the chairs are pushed in, the fountain runs without anyone standing near it, and over this image of stillness, David Bowie's Heroes plays while the camera shows you what happened to every single character after the story ended. Mordecai becomes a painter. Rigby marries Eileen. Muscle Man raises his daughter. Skips keeps skipping. The park goes on without them, and they go on without the park. And the thing that hits you, the thing that stays in your chest long after the credits roll, is not sadness. It is the weight of time having actually passed. These characters grew up, not in a single dramatic moment, not in a speech, across 244 episodes, across 8 seasons, across 7 years of real time. They simply became different people, and the show let them. That is what this video is about. Not which show had better animation, not which show won more awards, not which show had more elaborate lore or more complex mythology. This is about something simpler and, once you see it, something harder to argue with. Regular show is better than Adventure Time because it understood something that Adventure Time never quite figured out. It understood that growing up is not a mystery to be solved. It is a process to be lived. And the best way to tell that story is not through epic quests or ancient prophecies or thousand-year wars between good and evil. The best way to tell that story is through two 23-year-old slackers who cannot stop playing video games long enough to mow the lawn. Welcome to Velvo. Get comfortable. Settle in. Turn the lights down low. This is going to take a while, and that is the point. If you have not subscribed yet, it really does help us keep making these long-form pieces. Hit that button and let us get into it. Both shows premiered on Cartoon Network in the same year. Adventure Time debuted on April 5, 2010. Regular show followed on September 6, 2010. They ran side by side for nearly their entire existence, sharing a network, sharing an audience, sharing a cultural moment that would come to define what animated television could be in the 2010s. They are forever linked in the minds of everyone who grew up watching them, and for most of that time, the conventional wisdom was clear. Adventure Time was the ambitious one, the literary one, the one that mattered. Regular show was the funny one, the simple one, the one you watched when you wanted to turn your brain off. That conventional wisdom is wrong, and the reason it is wrong has nothing to do with quality or ambition. It has to do with honesty. Adventure Time ran for 10 seasons and 283 episodes before ending on September 3, 2018. It won a Peabody Award. It won multiple Emmys. It spawned comics, spin-offs, video games, and an entire generation of animators who cite it as their primary influence. Its legacy is enormous and earned. None of what follows is meant to diminish that legacy. But legacy and quality are not the same thing. A show can be enormously influential and still fall short of a quieter show that simply did its job better. And that is the argument. Regular show, episode for episode, season for season, character arc for character arc, did its job better. J.G. Quintel created Regular Show out of his student films at the California Institute of the Arts. 2 short films in particular became the foundation. The Naive Man from Lollyland, made in 2005, and 2 in the AM/PM, made in 2006. Both were created as part of a CalArts tradition in which students pulled a random word from a hat at midnight and spent a weekend developing ideas around it. The characters that would become Mordecai, Rigby, Benson, and Pops all originated in these shorts. After graduating, Quintel worked at Cartoon Network Studios, serving as a writer and storyboard artist on Camp Lazlo, and then as creative director on The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. He pitched Regular Show for a development project called Cartoonstitute, which was designed to produce animated shorts without executive interference. When the project was scrapped, the show was picked up as a full series. Each episode took approximately 9 months to produce. Quintel and his 35-member team worked at Cartoon Network Studios in Burbank, and unlike most modern animation, Regular Show was animated with hand-drawn storyboards on paper, then digitally composited and painted. Quintel said he felt more comfortable working on paper. He considered it more organic. That production detail matters more than it might seem. There is something in the texture of Regular Show, in the slightly rough quality of its lines, in the way characters move with a looseness that digital animation rarely captures, that communicates the show's central philosophy before a single word of dialogue is spoken. This is a show about imperfection, about mess, about the gap between what you want your life to look like and what it actually looks like when you are 23 and your best friend is a raccoon and your boss is a sentient gumball machine who screams at you every single day. The hand-drawn animation is not a limitation. It is a statement. And here is where the comparison begins to sharpen. Adventure Time, for all its brilliance, is a show about destiny, about chosen ones, about ancient wars and cosmic forces, and the weight of 1,000 years of history pressing down on a 13-year-old boy who was literally the last human on Earth. Finn the human is special. He is special by birth, by circumstance, by narrative function. His story matters because the universe made him matter. Regular show is about the opposite. Mordecai and Rigby are not special. They are groundskeepers. They are barely competent at their jobs. They are not chosen for anything. They do not have ancient bloodlines or magical destinies or cosmic significance. They are just two guys trying to get through the day without getting fired. And somehow, that is more compelling. Because the thing that makes their story matter is not what the universe does to them. It is what they choose to do with the ordinary, unremarkable lives they have been given. Think about what that means for the viewer. When you watch Adventure Time, you are watching someone else's extraordinary life. When you watch regular show, you are watching your own ordinary life reflected back to you, with the volume turned up just enough to make you see it clearly. The surreal escalation that happens in every episode, the way a simple task like returning a library book or setting up a computer turns into a life-or-death struggle against cosmic forces, that is not randomness. That is a metaphor. That is what it feels like to be young and overwhelmed and convinced that every small task is an impossible mountain. The show takes the emotional reality of being 23 and makes it literal, and that is a more honest kind of storytelling than any amount of lore. If you are enjoying this so far, consider subscribing. It genuinely helps us keep making these. There is a scene in the first episode of regular show, The Power, that aired on September 6th, 2010, that tells you everything you need to know about what this show is going to be. Mordecai and Rigby are wrestling in their room. They are fighting over a doll named Beef Burrito, and in the process of this completely pointless, completely childish wrestling match, they punch a massive hole in their bedroom wall. The hole is enormous, it is undeniable, and their first instinct is not to fix it. Their first instinct is to figure out how to get their boss to give them a raise so they can pay someone else to fix it. That is the show. That is the entire show in one scene. Two people who would rather construct an elaborate scheme involving a stolen magical keyboard than simply take responsibility for the thing they broke. Rigby finds the keyboard, which he stole from a wizard who was relieving himself in a bush, and discovers it has the power to make people do whatever they command. They use it to get a raise from Benson. They use it to send skips to the moon by accident. The situation escalates until the keyboard is destroyed. The raise is revoked, and they are ordered to clean up the mess they made in the first place. The lesson is obvious. The lesson is always obvious in regular show. You cannot avoid your responsibilities forever. The longer you try, the worse the consequences get. But the show never lectures. The show never stops being funny long enough to wag its finger. The lesson is embedded in the comedy, inseparable from it, and that is something Adventure Time struggles with consistently across its run. Adventure Time's approach to consequence is fundamentally different. When Finn makes a mistake, the universe responds with a proportional cosmic event. When he loses his arm, it becomes tied to a prophecy. When he deals with his father, it becomes an exploration of multidimensional existence. The stakes are always enormous. The consequences are always mythic. And while that can be thrilling, it also means that the show has difficulty telling small, personal stories about failure and growth. When everything is epic, nothing is mundane. And it is in the mundane where most people actually live their lives. Regular show lives in the mundane. It starts there every single time. A broken wall, a bet about who can stay awake longer, an argument about which fast food restaurant is better, an attempt to return an overdue library book. These are the seeds. And the surreal escalation that follows is always rooted in the emotional truth of the situation. The broken wall is about avoiding responsibility. The staying awake bet is about proving something to yourself. The fast food argument is about stubbornness and pride. The library book is about the anxiety of facing authority. The supernatural elements are not the story. They are the illustration of the story. There is an episode in Season 3 called Eggscellent, It aired on February 27, 2012. It won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Short-Format Animated Program at the 64th Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards. And it is, quietly, one of the most emotionally devastating 11 minutes of television that either show ever produced. The setup is simple. There is a restaurant that offers a challenge. If you can eat a 12-egg omelet in under an hour, you win a trucker hat that reads, "I'm Eggscellent." Rigby wants that hat. He wants it badly enough to attempt the challenge despite being, as the show eventually reveals, severely allergic to eggs. He goes into anaphylactic shock. He falls into a coma. And Mordecai, who spent the first half of the episode mocking Rigby for wanting the hat, decides to win it for him. The rest of the episode follows Mordecai training for the challenge. He fails. He trains harder. He seeks help from his friends. He eventually completes the challenge, only to discover that winning requires a second test, choosing the correct hat from a room full of hats, guarded by a knight. If you choose wrong, you die. Mordecai remembers the exact description Rigby gave of the hat he wanted. He chooses correctly. He brings the hat to Rigby in the hospital. The show does not add a speech about friendship. It does not have Mordecai explain what Rigby means to him. It does not frame the moment with soaring music or slow motion. Mordecai just places the hat on Rigby's head in the hospital bed. That is it. That is the whole story. Now think about what that episode actually is, stripped of its comedy. A man nearly kills himself attempting something foolish. His best friend, who initially dismissed him, risks his own life to honor that man's wish while he lies unconscious. The friend remembers a small, seemingly insignificant detail from an earlier conversation, and that act of listening, of paying attention, saves his life. This is a story about the depth of love that exists between two people who would never, in a million years, use the word love to describe what they have. And the show tells it through a trucker hat and a giant omelet. Adventure Time has plenty of episodes about friendship, about loyalty, about sacrifice. But those episodes almost always frame these themes through the lens of epic stakes, saving the Candy Kingdom, defeating the Lich, preventing the end of the world. The friendship is proven through heroism. Regular show proves friendship through something much harder to animate and much harder to write. It proves friendship through attention, through showing up, through remembering what kind of hat your friend wanted when everyone else would have forgotten. That is not a small distinction. That is the entire difference between the two shows. There is something else that Eggscellent demonstrates that separates regular show from its contemporaries. The show has a perfect understanding of escalation. Every episode begins at a 1 and ends at a 10, but the escalation never feels arbitrary. In Eggscellent, the escalation goes from a restaurant challenge to a coma, to a training montage, to a life-or-death trial in a cave, and every step feels earned because every step is motivated by the same emotional engine. Mordecai wants to prove to Rigby, and to himself, that he takes his friends seriously. The escalation serves the emotion. It never replaces it. Adventure Time escalates differently. In Adventure Time, escalation often serves the world building. A simple adventure leads to the discovery of a new location, which reveals a new piece of lore, which connects to the backstory of a character from 3 seasons ago. The escalation is horizontal. It expands the world. Regular show's escalation is vertical. It deepens the moment. Both approaches have value, but only one of them makes you feel something in your chest at the end of the episode, and it is not the one that just taught you a new piece of mythology. Let us talk about something that almost nobody discusses when comparing these two shows. Consistency. Adventure Time ran for 10 seasons. Regular show ran for 8. Adventure Time had 283 episodes. Regular show had 244. And here is the thing that the cultural conversation around these shows never quite acknowledges. Regular show maintained a higher baseline quality across its run. It did not have the dizzying peaks of Adventure Time's best episodes, but it also did not have the valleys. It did not have seasons where a fifth of the episodes felt like filler. It did not have stretches where the show seemed to lose interest in its own characters. It did not have arcs that were started and abandoned, or mysteries that were raised and never satisfactorily answered. Adventure Time, particularly in its 6th and 7th seasons, developed a problem with pacing and focus. Out of its 283 total episodes, a significant portion are considered filler by community consensus. That is roughly 20% of the show, 20% of episodes that do not advance the plot, do not develop the characters, and do not connect to any larger theme. They simply exist. Some of them are charming, some of them are clever in isolation. But when you are watching the show in sequence, when you are invested in the arcs and the mysteries and the character development, those episodes feel like interruptions. They feel like the show does not respect your time. Regular show does not have this problem. It does not have this problem because it was designed differently from the ground up. Every episode of regular show is self-contained. Every episode tells a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end. There is no filler because there is nothing to fill. There are no arcs that require specific episodes to advance. The character development happens cumulatively, gradually, across dozens of episodes that each work perfectly on their own. You can watch any episode of regular show in isolation and have a complete, satisfying experience. You cannot say the same about Adventure Time. Try watching a random episode from Season 7 of Adventure Time without context. Try making sense of the Ice King's backstory, or Finn's relationship with his father, or the political situation in the Candy Kingdom, without having seen the preceding episodes. The lore is the show's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. It creates investment, but it also creates barriers. Regular show has no barriers. It is always accessible. It is always welcoming. And in a medium designed to be experienced casually, that is not a small thing. A quick reminder that subscribing helps the channel more than you might think. Now, back to it. There is a version of Mordecai that the show has never shown you directly, but that exists in every frame of every episode he appears in. It is the version of Mordecai who knows exactly what he should be doing with his life and cannot make himself do it. He went to art school. He dropped out. He took a job at a park. He stayed at that job for years. He fell in love with a woman who worked at a coffee shop and spent entire seasons unable to tell her how he felt. When he finally got the relationship he wanted, he sabotaged it. When he got a second chance with someone new, he sabotaged that too. He is not a hero. He is not even particularly likable in the traditional sense. He is a person who is terrified of his own potential, and the show never once lets him off the hook for it. Think about how unusual that is for an animated protagonist. Think about how many shows would have made Mordecai cool, would have given him a moment of transformation, would have let him give a speech about believing in himself and then suddenly become the person he was always meant to be. Regular show refuses that arc entirely. Mordecai's growth is slow, painful, full of reversals and failures and moments where he takes 2 steps backward for every step forward. And the show never pretends that this is anything other than realistic, because that is how people actually change, not in a single inspired moment, in thousands of small, difficult, often humiliating decisions spread across years. Mordecai's romantic arc is the clearest illustration of this. In seasons 1 through 4, his entire emotional life revolves around Margaret, a robin who works at the coffee shop across from the park. He cannot talk to her without becoming a stuttering mess. He cannot be honest about his feelings. He constructs elaborate scenarios to spend time with her while pretending the scenarios are about something else. He is, in the language of the show's own visual comedy, a blue jay turning red. And when he finally, after 4 seasons of buildup, summons the courage to ask her to be his girlfriend in Stake Me Amadeus, the season 4 finale that aired on August 12, 2013, she says no, not because she does not like him, because she got accepted to her dream school, Milton University, and she is leaving. That is devastating, not because it is a surprise, because it is exactly what would happen. In real life, the timing does not align. In real life, the person you love gets an opportunity they cannot refuse, and they choose themselves over you, and they are right to do it. Margaret choosing her education over Mordecai is the most realistic romantic moment in either show's entire run, and regular show sits with the fallout. It does not resolve it in the next episode. It does not give Mordecai a quick recovery. Season 5 opens with him still heartbroken, still lost, still unable to figure out who he is without the goal of being with Margaret defining his days. Compare this to Adventure Time's handling of Finn's romantic development. Finn's crushes, Princess Bubblegum, Flame Princess, and later Huntress Wizard, are handled episodically. They appear, cause conflict, and are largely resolved or abandoned as the show moves forward. Finn's feelings for Bubblegum are treated as a phase he outgrows. His relationship with Flame Princess ends and the show moves past it with relatively little lingering consequence. By the series finale, Finn has no romantic closure at all. The show simply stops engaging with this part of his character. It is not resolved. It is not even acknowledged as unresolved. It is just gone. Regular show treats romance as an ongoing, evolving, messy part of adult life that you cannot skip past or outgrow. Mordecai moves from Margaret to CJ. His relationship with CJ is complicated by his unresolved feelings for Margaret. He kisses Margaret while dating CJ. He hurts CJ. He hurts himself. He tries to make a love confession at Muscleman and Starla's wedding, and both women reject him. And eventually, in the series finale, years later, after all of it, after all the pain and the confusion and the self-sabotage, Mordecai meets someone new, a bat artist he encounters at an art exhibition, someone the audience has never met, someone who exists outside the drama of the park and the coffee shop and the love triangle. He marries her. They have children. He is happy. The show is telling you something profound with that ending. It is telling you that the great love of your 20s might not be the great love of your life, that the person you end up with might be someone you have not met yet, that all the drama and heartbreak and confusion of your early romantic life might, from a distance, look like practice, like preparation, like the messy, necessary work of figuring out what you actually need from another person. Adventure Time never says anything this honest about love. Adventure Time treats love as a story element. Regular show treats it as a lived experience. But it is not only Mordecai whose growth defines the show. Rigby's transformation across 8 seasons is arguably the single greatest character arc in modern animated television. And the reason it works so well is that the show never rushes it. It never gives you the scene where Rigby decides to change. It simply shows you, across years of episodes, a person slowly, incrementally, becoming someone different. In the early seasons, Rigby is almost unbearable. He is selfish. He is lazy. He is destructive. He lies constantly. He cheats at every game. He starts problems and leaves Mordecai to fix them. He is, by almost any measure, a bad friend. And the show does not sugarcoat this. Other characters call him out on it regularly. Benson threatens to fire him weekly. Even Mordecai, his closest friend in the world, loses patience with him on a regular basis. The show is not asking you to find Rigby endearing in these early episodes. It is asking you to see him clearly. And then, slowly, something changes. It starts with Eileen. Eileen is a mole who works at the coffee shop alongside Margaret. She has an obvious crush on Rigby from the moment she appears, and Rigby, initially, treats her the way he treats everything else in his life, with dismissal, with indifference, with the casual cruelty of someone who does not take anything seriously, because taking things seriously means admitting that things matter. But Eileen does not go away. She does not change for him. She does not perform some grand gesture that forces him to see her differently. She is just consistently there, consistently kind, consistently interested in him as a person. And over the course of seasons, the show reveals that Rigby has been spending time with her quietly, off-screen, without making a big deal of it. In Eileen Flat Screen, which aired during season 6, it is casually revealed that Rigby and Eileen hang out regularly when Mordecai is busy. They went to a fair together. They have their own dynamic, separate from the group. Rigby sets up her new television as a surprise, showing a degree of thoughtfulness and effort that would have been unimaginable in season 1. The show does not announce this. There is no episode titled Rigby Changes. There is no montage. There is no speech. There is just evidence. Episode after episode, season after season, small moments accumulating, until you look up one day and realize that the character you are watching is not the same person you met 7 years ago. That is how real growth works. You do not notice it happening. You only notice that it happened. By the series finale, Rigby has earned his diploma. He is in a committed, loving relationship with Eileen. He has a family. He is responsible. He is kind. He is an adult. And the show never once cheated to get him there. It never gave him a magical transformation. It never explained his growth through a plot device. It simply showed a person, year after year, becoming someone better. Slowly, imperfectly, realistically. Adventure Time attempts something similar with Finn. Finn starts the show at approximately 13 years old and ages to around 17 by the series finale. He grows. He matures. He deals with loss and betrayal, and the complexity of a world that does not operate on the simple moral binary he believed in as a child. But Adventure Time's handling of Finn's growth is inconsistent. There are seasons where Finn seems to regress. There are episodes where his maturity from previous arcs is simply absent, as though it never happened. The show's episodic nature, combined with its revolving door of writers and storyboard artists who each brought their own interpretation of the characters, means that Finn's development does not follow a clear trajectory. It lurches, it stalls, it sometimes contradicts itself. Regular show does not have this problem because its character development is baked into the show's structure at a fundamental level. Each episode may be self-contained in terms of plot, but the characters carry forward. Rigby in Season 5 is different from Rigby in Season 3, and that difference is consistent. You never get an episode where he reverts to his earlier self for the sake of a joke. The show respects its own continuity in a way that Adventure Time, for all its attention to lore, sometimes fails to respect the continuity of its characters' emotional lives. If you are finding value in this, subscribing really does make a difference for the channel. There is a specific kind of silence in regular show that Adventure Time never quite achieves. It is the silence that follows a joke that was not entirely a joke. The silence where the comedy falls away for just a second, and you see the real emotion underneath. And then the show moves on. It does not dwell. It does not ask you to feel. It just shows you the truth for half a second, and then puts the mask back on. Muscle Man is the best example of this. For most of the show's run, Muscle Man is a joke. He is gross. He is loud. He tells my mom jokes that irritate everyone around him. He is the kind of character that exists in animated comedies as comic relief. Except regular show, slowly and carefully, reveals that Muscle Man is not simple. He is not a punchline. He is a person with a deep and genuine capacity for love, and his loudness and grossness are not character flaws. They are armor. Muscle Man and Starla's relationship is treated by the show with the same seriousness as Mordecai's romantic arc. They fight. They break up. They get back together. They navigate jealousy and insecurity and the fear of change. And in The End of Muscle Man, the show gives Muscle Man a proposal episode that is played entirely straight. There is no ironic distance. There is no winking at the camera. Muscle Man asks Starla to marry him, and the show frames it as genuinely beautiful. And Starla says yes, and she tells him that she does not want him to change who he is. That his loudness, his crudeness, his my mom jokes, all of it, that is the person she loves. Not a better version. Not a cleaned up version. Him. Think about what that means for a show that aired on Cartoon Network. Think about the message that sends to its audience. You do not have to become someone else to be loved. You do not have to sand down your rough edges or perform a version of yourself that is more palatable to the world. The right person loves the rough edges. The right person loves the my mom jokes. That is a more radical statement about love and acceptance than anything Adventure Time ever says on the subject. And regular show says it through its loudest, grossest, least likely character. The show doubles down on this in later seasons. Muscle Man and Starla get married. They have a daughter. Muscle Man becomes a father. And the show does not use parenthood to soften him. He is still loud, still crude, still exactly who he has always been. But now he is that person and a devoted father. The show refuses the narrative that growing up means becoming boring, that maturity means losing your personality, that adulthood means conformity. Regular show says you can be exactly who you are and still grow, and it makes that argument more convincingly than any other animated show of its era. Adventure Time has characters with depth. That is not the argument. Marceline has depth. Ice King has depth. Princess Bubblegum has extraordinary depth. But Adventure Time buries that depth under layers of mythology and cosmic significance. Marceline's pain is not just personal. It is tied to the Mushroom War, to the end of civilization, to 1,000 years of vampiric existence. Ice King's tragedy is not just about a man losing his mind. It is about a magical crown, an ancient entity, and the fate of a pre-apocalyptic civilization. The depth is always mediated through the fantastic. It is always one step removed from the simply human. Regular show does not have that buffer. When Mordecai is sad, he is just sad. When Rigby fails, he just fails. When Muscle Man is afraid of losing Starla, there is no cosmic explanation. There is no mythological framework. There is just a man who loves a woman and is terrified that he is not good enough for her. The emotional directness of regular show is its most underrated quality. It does not need lore to make you feel something. It just needs characters who behave like real people in unreal situations. Let us talk about Pops, because Pops is, in many ways, the show's secret weapon. And his arc across all 8 seasons is the single best argument for why regular show's approach to storytelling is superior to Adventure Time's. Pops Mellard is a lollipop-shaped man with a white handlebar mustache and an innocent, childlike demeanor. For 6.5 seasons, he is the show's sweetest character. He laughs at everything. He delights in simple pleasures. He calls things jolly good show. He is, seemingly, the least complex character in the main cast. He exists to be kind in a world where everyone else is stressed and struggling and fighting against something. He is pure innocence in a show full of characters dealing with very adult problems. And then season 8 happens, and the show reveals that Pops is not just a kind old man. He is a cosmic being. He is the embodiment of pure good, born on the planet Lalaland as a being called Megacranus. He has a twin brother, Antipops, who is the embodiment of pure evil, called Malumcranus. The two of them are locked in an eternal cycle. Every time they fight, the universe resets. Every time the universe resets, everything and everyone in it is destroyed. The entire cosmology of regular show, all the bizarre supernatural elements that have been escalating through 8 seasons of episodes, all of it traces back to this single truth. Pops is the center of everything, and his innocence is not naivete. It is a choice. Think about what that recontextualization does to the show. Think about every scene where Pops laughed at a butterfly. Every scene where he was kind to someone who did not deserve it. Every scene where his colleagues dismissed him as simple or childish. He was never simple. He was holding the universe together. His sweetness was not a personality trait. It was a cosmic function. He had to remain good. He had to remain innocent. Because the moment he did not, everything ended. The show was building to this for 8 years. Not through clues. Not through foreshadowing. Through character. Through showing you a person so relentlessly kind that the only possible explanation was that his kindness meant something beyond the personal. And when the reveal comes, in season 8, when the park crew is launched into space and the truth about Pops is revealed, it does not feel like a twist. It feels like something you always knew but never had the words for. And then Pops dies. In the series finale, a regular epic final battle, which aired on January 16, 2017, Pops chooses to end the cycle by embracing his brother and flying into the sun. He does not defeat Antipops. He does not overpower evil with good. He hugs his twin and says goodbye to his friends and lets himself burn. He breaks the cycle through love, through acceptance, through the same radical kindness that defined him for 8 seasons. And the show holds on Mordecai and Rigby's faces as they process the loss. And David Bowie plays. And the park goes on. This is where regular show's structural approach reveals its genius. For 7.5 seasons, Pops was a supporting character. A joke even. The nice old man with the funny hat and the childlike giggle. The show let you underestimate him. It let you take him for granted. It let you look past him the same way his colleagues looked past him. And then, when it mattered most, when the stakes were literally the end of the universe, the show turned to the character you least expected and said, "This is who saves everything." Not the hero, not the strong one, not the clever one, the kind one, the one who never stopped being good even when goodness seemed like weakness. Adventure Time attempts something similar with its cosmic mythology. The show has the Lich, a being of pure evil. It has Golb, an entity of chaos. It has Princess Bubblegum, who could be read as a benevolent dictator grappling with the ethics of power. But Adventure Time scatters these elements across hundreds of episodes without ever quite bringing them together in a way that feels inevitable. The series finale, Come Along With Me, aired on September 3, 2018, and while it is emotional and visually stunning, it feels rushed. Golb's appearance is sudden. Finn is reduced to a secondary character. Fern's redemption arc is compressed into minutes. The show had too many threads and not enough time, and the finale, while good, does not land with the weight that regular show's finale achieves. Regular show's finale works because it was built on a foundation of character, not lore, not mythology, character. You cry when Pops dies, not because the stakes are cosmic, but because you spent 8 years watching him be kind to people. The investment is personal. The payoff is personal. And that is always more powerful than a payoff that is mythological. Subscribing takes a second and supports everything we do here. Thank you. There is another dimension to this comparison that rarely gets discussed. The question of what kind of adult life each show imagines for its audience. Adventure Time is, at its core, a show about childhood extending infinitely. Finn lives in a world without parents, without school, without jobs, without responsibilities. He is free in a way that no real person is ever free. His world is designed for adventure. There are no bills. There are no bosses. There is no alarm clock. The appeal of Adventure Time is the appeal of permanent adolescence, a world where you never have to grow up because growing up was never part of the design. Regular show is the opposite. Regular show is explicitly about the years that come after adolescence, the years where adventure is replaced by routine, where freedom is replaced by obligation, where the question is no longer, what do I want to do today, but how do I survive another day of doing what I have to do? Mordecai and Rigby do not live in a world designed for adventure. They live in a world designed for work, and their adventures happen in spite of that world, not because of it. They happen in the margins, in the stolen hours, in the moments when responsibility is temporarily outrun. That distinction matters because it determines what kind of comfort each show offers its audience. Adventure Time offers the comfort of escape. Regular show offers the comfort of recognition. And while both are valid, recognition is ultimately more sustaining. Escape is temporary. You leave the world of Adventure Time and return to your own, unchanged. But recognition stays with you. When regular show shows you that two 23-year-old slackers can find meaning and joy and even something like purpose within the constraints of an ordinary life, that message follows you back into your own ordinary life. It does not just entertain you, it reframes how you see your own existence. This is why regular show works so well as sleep content. This is why you can listen to it with your eyes closed and feel comforted, rather than overstimulated. Because the show is not trying to take you somewhere else. It is trying to make where you already are feel like enough. The park is not a fantasy world. It is a workplace. The characters are not heroes. They are employees. And the stories they tell are not about saving the world. They are about getting through the day. And getting through the day, the show insists, is its own kind of heroism. Let us talk about something specific. Let us talk about the way regular show handles the passage of time versus the way Adventure Time handles it. Because this is where the fundamental philosophical difference between the two shows becomes most visible. Adventure Time takes place in a world where time is almost meaningless. Characters are hundreds or thousands of years old. The Candy Kingdom has existed for centuries. Marceline is over 1,000 years old. Ice King has been alive for over 1,000 years. The show takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where so much time has passed that the apocalypse itself is ancient history. Time in Adventure Time is geological. It moves so slowly that individual human lifespans are insignificant within it. Regular show takes place in real time. The show premiered in 2010 and ended in 2017. The characters age across that span. The park changes. The relationships evolve. The world moves forward at the same pace as the audience's world. When you watch regular show from beginning to end, you are watching 7 years pass. 7 years for the characters, 7 years for you. There is a one-to-one relationship between the time the audience invested and the time the characters lived, and that creates a kind of emotional resonance that Adventure Time, for all its ambition, cannot match. When the finale of regular show shows you that montage of the characters growing old, getting married, having children, building careers, watching their hair gray, that montage hits differently because you were there for all of it. You were there when Mordecai could not talk to Margaret. You were there when Rigby was a selfish disaster. You were there when Muscle Man was just a joke. You watched these people change at the same pace that you changed. And seeing them arrive at adulthood at peace, at something like happiness, feels like seeing your own friends grow up. It feels personal, in a way that Adventure Time's 1,000-year time jumps never can. The series finale of regular show, rated 9.9 out of 10 on IMDb, is the highest-rated episode of the entire show. That is not because it has the best action or the most surprising twists. It is because it earns its emotion through time, through 7 years of shared experience between the audience and the characters. Regular Show understood something that very few shows understand. The most powerful tool in serialized storytelling is not plot. It is time. It is the simple fact of having been there, of having watched, of having cared for long enough that the ending, when it comes, carries the weight of everything that preceded it. Adventure Time's finale is rated highly as well. It is a good finale, but it does not achieve the same emotional weight, and the reason is precisely that Adventure Time's relationship to time is different. When Finn says goodbye to his friends in the finale, the audience has known these characters for 8 years, but the show itself has never quite committed to the idea that 8 years has passed for the characters. Finn has aged approximately 4 years in 8 seasons. The show's timeline is deliberately vague, and that vagueness, while serving the show's mythological ambitions, undercuts the emotional power of the ending. You cannot mourn the passage of time if the show never fully committed to time passing. There is a broader argument here about what makes animated television great, and it is an argument that the cultural conversation around these two shows has consistently gotten wrong. The argument goes like this: ambition equals quality. The more ambitious a show is, the more it attempts. The more it reaches for something unprecedented, the better it is. Adventure Time is more ambitious than Regular Show. Therefore, Adventure Time is better. This argument is wrong for a simple reason. Ambition is not execution. Reaching is not grasping. And a show that attempts less but achieves everything it attempts is, by any meaningful standard, more successful than a show that attempts the extraordinary and achieves it only intermittently. Regular Show is not a less ambitious show than Adventure Time. It is a differently ambitious show. Its ambition is not mythological. It is emotional. Its ambition is not to build a world. It is to tell the truth about the world that already exists. Its ambition is to take the messiest, most confusing, most universal human experiences, the experience of being young and lost and afraid and stuck, and find the comedy and the meaning and the beauty inside them without ever pretending they are anything other than what they are. That is ambition. That is extraordinary ambition. And Regular Show achieves it with a consistency that Adventure Time, for all its brilliance, cannot match. This is a good moment to subscribe if you have not already. It helps us keep going. There is a moment in Season 2 of Regular Show where Mordecai and Rigby discover a bunch of baby ducks in the park fountain. The episode is called A Bunch of Baby Ducks. It aired on June 6, 2011, and it is, on its surface, one of the silliest episodes the show ever produced. The ducks imprint on Rigby. They follow him everywhere. They start imitating his behavior. They learn karate moves. They play video games. They become, essentially, tiny feathered versions of Rigby himself. And when a threat appears, the ducks combine into a giant humanoid duck warrior in a sequence that directly parodies Voltron and Power Rangers. It is absurd. It is hilarious. It is rated 9.3 out of 10 on IMDb. And underneath the absurdity, it is a story about something very specific and very real. It is a story about something very specific and very real. It is a story about something very specific and very real. It is a story about something very specific and very real. It is a story about something very specific and very real. Rigby, who has never been responsible for anyone or anything, suddenly finds himself with beings that depend on him, that mimic him. That will become whatever he teaches them to be. And for the first time in the show, Rigby has to consider what kind of example he is setting. The ducks do not need him to be perfect. They just need him to care. And he does. Reluctantly, awkwardly, imperfectly, he cares. The episode works because it finds genuine emotion inside genuine absurdity. The two are not in tension. They amplify each other. The silliness of baby ducks learning karate makes the emotional core hit harder because you do not see it coming. Regular Show does this consistently. It disguises its sincerity as comedy. It wraps its most honest moments in layers of irony and escalation and visual gags, so that when the emotional beat lands, it catches you off guard. You laugh and then you feel something, and you are not entirely sure when one turned into the other. Adventure Time takes the opposite approach. When Adventure Time wants to be emotional, it announces it. The music changes, the color palette shifts, the pacing slows. Characters deliver monologues. The show signals its emotional moments clearly, and while those moments are often beautiful, they lack the surprise of Regular Show's emotional beats. You know when Adventure Time is trying to make you feel something. Regular show makes you feel something before you realize it was trying. This is a fundamental difference in comedic philosophy. Regular show trusts its audience to find the emotion inside the comedy. Adventure Time separates the two. It has comedy episodes and emotional episodes. It has episodes that are pure silliness and episodes that are pure catharsis. Regular show refuses that binary. Every episode is both. Every episode is silly and sincere simultaneously, and that simultaneity is what gives the show its unique texture. It is what makes it feel like life, because life is not divided into comedy episodes and drama episodes. Life is both things at once, all the time, and Regular Show captures that truth better than any other animated show of its generation. Let us talk about the supporting cast, because this is an area where Regular Show's superiority becomes difficult to deny. Every single supporting character in Regular Show has a complete arc. Every single one. Benson, the gumball machine. Skips, the immortal Yeti. Muscle Man, the green groundskeeper. High Five Ghost, the floating ghost. Pops, the lollipop man. Thomas, the intern who turned out to be a Russian spy. Even minor recurring characters like Margaret, Eileen, CJ, Death, and the god of basketball have consistent, evolving personalities across the show's run. Benson is particularly notable. He begins the show as an angry boss, a screaming authority figure whose only function seems to be threatening to fire Mordecai and Rigby, and the show lets you hate him. It lets you see him as the antagonist for multiple seasons. And then, gradually, it reveals why he is the way he is. He was a musician. He had dreams. He gave them up. He is stuck in a job he does not love, managing employees who do not respect him, living a life that looks nothing like the one he imagined for himself. His anger is not cruelty. It is frustration. It is the frustration of a person who sees his younger self in Mordecai and Rigby and is terrified that they will make the same mistakes he did. The show never has Benson sit down and explain this. It never gives him a monologue about his past. It reveals it through behavior, through the episode where he reconnects with his old band, through the episode where he dates someone for the first time in years and is terrified of being vulnerable, through the episode where he finally admits that he cares about Mordecai and Rigby not just as employees but as people. The show does not tell you who Benson is. It shows you. And by the end, when the finale reveals that Benson stays at the park long after everyone else has moved on, you understand that the park was never just a job for him. It was the only place where he felt needed, the only place where he mattered, and that is heartbreaking. Adventure Time has a large supporting cast as well. Lumpy Space Princess, Lady Rainicorn, BMO, Flame Princess, Cinnamon Bun, but the depth of characterization is distributed unevenly. Some characters, like Marceline and Ice King, receive extraordinary attention and development. Others, like Lady Rainicorn and BMO, remain relatively static across the show's run. And still others, like Lumpy Space Princess, actively resist development, staying essentially the same character from the pilot to the finale. The show's world-building ambition means that new characters are constantly being introduced, which dilutes the attention available for existing ones. Regular Show has a smaller, tighter cast, and it uses that constraint to go deeper with every single member. Skips is another example of how Regular Show builds character through patience. For most of the show, Skips is a mystery. He is an immortal Yeti who has been alive for centuries. He skips everywhere instead of walking. He knows how to fix everything. He has a past that the show reveals in fragments across multiple seasons. And the thing about Skips is that his immortality is not presented as a gift. It is presented as a burden. He has outlived everyone he has ever loved. He will outlive everyone he currently cares about. The park is just the latest in an infinite series of temporary homes, and the people in it are just the latest in an infinite series of temporary friends. Skips knows this, the audience knows this, and the show uses that knowledge to add weight to every interaction Skips has with the other characters. When Skips helps Rigby with a problem, there is an unspoken sadness underneath it. He is helping someone he will inevitably lose, and he does it anyway, because that is what kindness looks like when you have lived long enough to know that kindness is all there is. Adventure Time has a character with a similar premise. Ice King, formerly Simon Petrikov, is a character who lost his mind to a magical crown and has been alive for over 1,000 years. His story is widely considered one of the most tragic in animated television. And it is. I Remember You, the episode where Marceline tries to help Simon remember who he was, is devastating. It is one of the best episodes either show ever produced. That is not in dispute. But Ice King's tragedy is fundamentally different from Skip's tragedy. Ice King's tragedy is dramatic. It is operatic. It involves a magical artifact and a global apocalypse and the loss of identity itself. Skip's tragedy is quiet. It is just the fact of being alive too long, of watching people come and go, of knowing that connection is temporary and choosing to connect anyway. One is a better story. The other is a more honest truth. Let us talk about endings, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where all the accumulated choices a show makes across its run either pay off or they do not. And regular show's ending is, by almost any measure, superior to Adventure Time's. Regular show ended on January 16, 2017, with a regular epic final battle. It is a 3-part finale that resolves the Season 8 space arc, brings the entire cast together for one final confrontation, and then, after the battle is won and the cost is paid, gives every single character a complete ending. The montage set to David Bowie's Heroes shows Mordecai becoming a painter, marrying, having children, Rigby marrying Eileen, having a daughter, building a life, Muscle Man raising his daughter, High Five Ghost becoming a DJ, Benson staying at the park, Skip's, immortal, outliving them all but never abandoning the place they shared. The montage covers years, decades. It shows these characters growing old, and then it shows them reuniting at the park, gray-haired and wrinkled, sitting on the same bench where everything started, and the screen says, "In memory of Pops." That ending is perfect. Not because it is surprising, because it is earned. Every moment of that montage connects to something the show built over 8 seasons. Mordecai becoming a painter connects to his time at art school. Rigby marrying Eileen connects to seasons of quiet, understated development. Benson staying at the park connects to his entire arc of finding meaning in a job he once resented. Nothing comes from nowhere. Everything was seeded. Everything was grown. The ending is a harvest of everything the show planted. Adventure Time's ending is different. Come Along With Me is a 44-minute finale that tries to resolve the show's many dangling threads. It partially succeeds. Bubblegum and Marceline kiss. Bimo sings a song. Finn fights in a war. Golb arrives and is defeated. Fern dies and becomes a tree. The gum war is resolved. But the finale also leaves significant elements unresolved. Finn's romantic future is unaddressed. Jake's role is minimal. Many long-running subplots are simply left behind. And the finale was reportedly affected by the show's abrupt cancellation by Cartoon Network, which forced the creative team to triage their storylines and compress their ending. This is not a criticism of Adventure Time's creative team. They did remarkable work under difficult circumstances. But the result is a finale that feels like it is racing to finish, rather than arriving naturally at its conclusion. Regular show's finale feels like a deep breath out. Adventure Time's feels like a gasp. Both are valid, but only one leaves you feeling like the story is truly, completely over. Only one gives you the sense that every character has found their place. Only one feels like the end of a life rather than the end of a season. If you are still with us, subscribing is a great way to support the channel so we can keep making these deep dives. There is something that needs to be stated plainly about the two shows' relationship to their audience. Adventure Time cultivated a fandom that was obsessed with lore, with theories, with hidden connections and cryptic clues, and the promise of eventual revelation. The show rewarded close watching. It rewarded attention to detail. It built a mythology so dense and so interconnected that decoding it became a community activity. And that is wonderful. That kind of engagement is rare and valuable and speaks to the show's extraordinary craft. But there is a cost to that approach. The cost is that Adventure Time becomes, over time, a show that is better to think about than to watch. The experience of watching individual episodes, particularly in the middle seasons, can be frustrating. You watch an episode that seems like filler. You watch an episode that introduces a character and then abandons them. You watch an episode that raises a question and does not answer it. And the promise, the implicit promise that the show makes to its lore-obsessed audience, is that all of this will pay off eventually, that every detail matters, that nothing is wasted. But that promise is not fully kept. Some threads are dropped. Some mysteries are never answered. Some characters who seemed important turned out to be one-off experiments. The show asks for patience and trust, and while it often rewards them, it does not always do so. Regular show never asks for patience. Regular show pays off every single episode. There is no delayed gratification. There is no promise of eventual revelation. Every 11-minute episode is a complete experience. You do not need to wait for a season finale to feel satisfied. You do not need to have watched the previous 20 episodes to understand what is happening. You do not need to maintain a mental map of interconnected lore to appreciate what the show is doing. Every episode works. Every episode delivers. And that reliability, that consistency, that respect for the audience's time and attention is its own form of excellence. This is not to say that regular show lacks continuity. It has rich continuity. Characters grow. Relationships develop. Previous events are referenced and built upon. The Season 8 space arc is directly set up by events in earlier seasons. The revelation about Pops connects to details planted years before, but the continuity is additive, not essential. It rewards returning viewers without punishing new ones. It deepens the experience without gatekeeping it, and that is a harder balance to strike than it might appear. Let us talk about humor, because ultimately, at the most basic level, both of these shows are comedies, and the question of which show is funnier is not a matter of taste, it is a matter of craft. Regular show's humor operates on a principle of escalation. Every episode begins with a mundane situation and escalates it to absurd extremes. The humor comes from the gap between the trivial origin and the catastrophic result. A bet about who can stay awake longer becomes a supernatural endurance contest. A fight over a chair becomes a death match. An attempt to watch a scary movie becomes a real haunting. The comedic engine is always the same. Small stakes inflated to cosmic proportions. And it works every single time because the inflation is always motivated by character. The escalation happens because Mordecai and Rigby are the kind of people who cannot let anything go. Who cannot lose gracefully. Who cannot accept a small disappointment without turning it into a catastrophe. The humor is character-driven, not situation-driven. It comes from who these people are, not from what happens to them. Adventure Time's humor is different. It operates on a principle of randomness and linguistic play. Characters say unexpected things. Visual gags appear without setup. The humor is surreal in a way that is closer to sketch comedy than to sitcom. And when it works brilliantly. Jake's stretchy powers lend themselves to visual comedy that no other show can match. BMO's childlike misunderstandings of the world are consistently charming. Lumpy Space Princess's Valley Girl affectations in a fantasy setting are inherently funny. But randomness has diminishing returns. The 10th time a character says something deliberately unexpected, the unexpectedness itself becomes expected. The surprise wears off, and what is left, once the surprise is gone, has to be carried by character and emotion. Regular show's humor does not rely on surprise. It relies on recognition, on seeing yourself in Mordecai's inability to make a phone call, in Rigby's refusal to admit he was wrong, in Benson's barely contained rage at employees who will not stop playing video games long enough to mow the lawn. That recognition does not wear off, because you never stop being the person who avoids phone calls or refuses to admit they were wrong. There is an episode called Death Punchies from Season 1. It aired in 2010. The premise is simple. Rigby is tired of losing at punchies, a game where two people punch each other until one gives up. So he goes to a martial arts dojo, learns a forbidden move called the Death Punch, and uses it to defeat everyone in the park. The escalation takes the episode from a childish playground game to a genuine life-or-death martial arts battle, and the comedy comes entirely from the gap between what punchies is, which is nothing, and what Rigby turns it into, which is everything. It is a perfect distillation of the show's comedic philosophy. The humor is in the disproportionate response, in the refusal to let a small thing remain small, in the universal human tendency to make mountains out of molehills. Adventure Time rarely achieves this kind of comedic clarity. Its humor is diffuse. It is spread across dialogue, visual gags, background details, and structural jokes. It is clever, but it is rarely focused. It makes you smile more often than it makes you laugh. And while there is nothing wrong with smiling, regular show makes you laugh with a consistency and force that Adventure Time matches only intermittently. let us talk about something that people who prefer Adventure Time always bring up: the question of scope. Adventure Time has more scope than regular show. It covers more ground. It tells more kinds of stories. It explores more genres. It builds a larger world. It has more characters, more locations, more history, more mythology. And all of that is true. Adventure Time is a bigger show. But bigger is not better. Bigger is just bigger. Regular show's scope is deliberately limited. It takes place primarily in and around a park. The characters are a small group of co-workers. The stories are, with the exception of the Season 8 space arc, grounded in everyday situations. And that limitation is a choice, a creative choice, a disciplined choice. The show chose to go deep instead of wide, to know its characters completely instead of knowing many characters partially, to perfect a specific kind of story instead of attempting every kind of story. And the result of that discipline is a show that is more consistent, more emotionally coherent, and more satisfying on an episode-by-episode basis than Adventure Time. The Season 8 space arc is actually a perfect test of this principle. When regular show leaves the park and goes into space, when it expands its scope dramatically, it does not lose its identity. The space arc is still about the same characters dealing with the same kinds of problems. Mordecai and Rigby still slack off. Benson still gets angry. Muscle Man still makes my mom jokes. The setting changes, but the show does not. Because the show's identity was never built on its setting. It was built on its characters. And characters travel. Adventure Time's identity, by contrast, is inseparable from its setting. The land of Ooo is the show. Without it, without its geography and history and rules, the characters lose their context. They become less interesting. Regular show's characters are interesting anywhere. On Earth, in space, at a convenience store, in a cave full of hats. The show proved this across 8 seasons and 244 episodes. The characters carry the show, not the world. We are getting into the home stretch now, so if you have been enjoying this, subscribing would mean a lot. Let us continue. There is a question that this video has been building toward, and it is time to address it directly. The question is this: what makes one show better than another? Not more popular, not more influential, not more acclaimed, better. And the answer that everything in this video has been pointing toward, is this. The better show is the one that tells the truth more consistently. The better show is the one whose emotional beats land more reliably. The better show is the one whose characters feel more like real people. The better show is the one that you carry with you after it is over. Not in your head, where lore and mythology live. In your chest, where recognition and empathy live. Regular show lives in the chest. Every time Mordecai fails at love and does not learn from it and fails again. Every time Rigby chooses laziness and faces consequences, and slowly, over years, starts making different choices. Every time Benson screams, and you realize it is because he cares, and does not know how to say it. Every time Muscle Man tells a my mom joke, and you realize it is armor. Every time Pops laughs at something simple, and you realize that simplicity was always the point. Every time the show takes an ordinary moment and escalates it into something extraordinary, and then brings it back down to earth, and shows you the human truth that was underneath the absurdity all along. That is the show living in your chest. That is recognition. That is truth. Adventure Time lives in the head. It is a puzzle. It is a mythology. It is a world to explore and decode and theorize about. It is intellectually stimulating in ways that regular show rarely attempts. It is creative in ways that push the boundaries of what animation can be. It is important in ways that are easy to articulate and defend, but it does not live in the chest, or rather, it does occasionally. In I Remember You, in Simon and Marcy, in the moments where the mythology drops away and you are left with two people and the distance between them. In those moments, Adventure Time achieves something that regular show achieves routinely, and the word routinely is the key word. Regular show achieves emotional truth as a matter of course, as its baseline, as the floor rather than the ceiling. Adventure Time achieves it as a peak, as a special episode, as something that requires the stars to align. This does not mean Adventure Time is a bad show. This needs to be stated clearly and without qualification. Adventure Time is a masterpiece. It changed animated television permanently. It made possible a generation of shows that would not have existed without it. Its best episodes are among the best episodes of any animated show ever produced. It deserves every award it won and every piece of praise it received. The argument is not that Adventure Time is bad. The argument is that regular show is better. And it is better for a reason that is easy to state and difficult to accept. It is better because it is honest, because it does not hide behind mythology, because it does not need cosmic stakes to make you care, because it trusts that the everyday, the mundane, the regular is enough. That two guys at a park trying to get through the day is enough material for 8 seasons of television. That growing up slowly is enough drama. That caring about your friends is enough heroism. That life, as it is actually lived, without prophecies or chosen ones or the weight of 1,000 years, is enough. With that established, let us turn to the creative histories of these two shows, because they reveal something important about the consistency we have been discussing. There is something else that separates these two shows that almost never gets discussed in the comparison. It is the question of creative consistency, of a single vision maintained across an entire run. And this is where the production histories of the two shows become relevant in a way that goes beyond trivia. J.G. Quintel was the showrunner of Regular Show, from the first episode to the last. Every single one of the 244 episodes passed through his creative vision. He voiced Mordecai. He directed key episodes. He was present for every story meeting, every animatic review, every final cut. The show is his in a way that very few long-running animated shows belong to their creators. And you can feel that consistency in the finished product. The voice never wavers. The tone never drifts. The show knows what it is in the first episode, and it still knows what it is in the last episode. It grows. It evolves. It becomes more ambitious in its storytelling, but it never loses its identity. Adventure Time's creative history is more complicated. Pendleton Ward created the show and served as its showrunner for the first 5 seasons. But during season 5, Ward stepped down. In an interview with Rolling Stone in October 2014, he said plainly that the job was driving me nuts. The pressure of helming a massive hit, one generating top 10 App Store games, comics that sold hundreds of thousands of copies, and nearly 1,000 individual items of merchandise, was not sustainable for him. He continued to contribute as a writer and storyboard artist through season 6, and remained an executive producer until the finale. But the day-to-day creative leadership of the show passed to other hands. This is not a criticism of Ward. It is not even a criticism of the people who took over. Adam Muto, who became showrunner after Ward's departure, did extraordinary work. The later seasons of Adventure Time contain some of its best episodes. Stakes, Elements, the Gumbald arc. These were produced after Ward stepped back, but there is an undeniable shift in the show after season 5. The tone becomes more melancholic. The pacing becomes more uneven. The show's relationship to its own mythology becomes more tentative, as though it is no longer entirely sure how to resolve the threads it started. And while much of this is excellent television, it is also inconsistent television. The show that emerges from season 6 onward is not quite the same show that began. It is a continuation, but it is also, in some sense, a different creative project being executed by different people under the same title. Regular Show never has this problem. There is no era of Regular Show. There is no early Regular Show that feels fundamentally different from late Regular Show. There is just Regular Show. One voice, one vision, one steady hand on the wheel from beginning to end, and that consistency translates directly into the viewing experience. When you watch Regular Show from start to finish, the journey feels guided. It feels intentional. Every tonal shift, every escalation in ambition, every deepening of character, feels like a choice made by someone who knew exactly where they were going. Adventure Time sometimes feels like it is discovering its own destination as it travels. That discovery can be thrilling, but it can also be disorienting. And over 10 seasons, disorientation accumulates. Let us go deeper into something touched on earlier, the question of how each show handles its darkest material. Because both shows go dark. Both shows deal with death, loss, trauma, and the cruelty of existence. But they handle darkness in fundamentally different ways, and the difference reveals everything about their respective philosophies. Adventure Time's darkness is mythological. The Lich is the embodiment of extinction. The Mushroom War destroyed human civilization. Ice King lost his identity to madness. Marceline watched everyone she ever loved die across 1,000 years. The show deals in apocalyptic darkness, in the death of worlds, in suffering on a scale so vast that it becomes almost abstract. And while individual moments pierce through that abstraction, I Remember You being the obvious example. The overall effect of Adventure Time's darkness is more intellectual than visceral. You understand the tragedy, you appreciate the tragedy, but you do not always feel the tragedy in your body, because the tragedy is happening at a scale that is difficult to relate to directly. Regular Show's darkness is personal. It is small. It is specific. And because of that, it hits differently. There is an episode in Season 2 called It's Time. It aired on January 3rd, 2011. In this episode, Mordecai becomes jealous when Rigby asks Margaret on a date. The jealousy escalates. The two friends end up in a time vortex, riding a microwave through space. Rigby taunts Mordecai, pushes him, and Mordecai pushes back, and Rigby falls off the microwave and is disintegrated. Let that sit for a second. Mordecai kills his best friend, out of jealousy, over a girl. The show does not frame this as a joke. Father Time appears and shows Mordecai what he has done, makes him confront it, makes him say it out loud. I was jealous. The episode resets via time travel, which means Rigby lives, but the reset does not erase what the episode showed you. It showed you that Mordecai's jealousy is capable of violence, that his inability to express his feelings directly, his tendency to let emotions build up until they explode, has the potential to destroy the thing he cares about most. That is dark. That is genuinely, uncomfortably dark. And the show does not dress it up in mythology. It does not make it about a magical crown or a 1,000-year war. It is just a man whose jealousy got someone killed. It is just the ordinary, everyday horror of what happens when you cannot control your emotions. And because it is so ordinary, because it could happen to anyone, because everyone has felt jealousy that frightened them with its intensity, it lands with a weight that Adventure Time's cosmic darkness rarely achieves. Regular Show goes to these places repeatedly. In Over the Top, Skips accidentally kills Rigby during an arm wrestling match and has to arm wrestle Death himself to get Rigby back. In Grave Sites, the park crew raises actual zombies from the dead. In Prank Callers, the consequences of a simple prank call spiral into temporal displacement. The show treats death as a real possibility, as something that can happen because of a moment of carelessness or a loss of control. And because death is present, because it is real, because characters can and do die and have to be brought back through extraordinary means, every conflict in the show carries genuine weight. You know the show is willing to go there. You know the escalation is not metaphorical. And that knowledge makes even the comedic episodes feel alive in a way that shows without real stakes cannot match. Adventure Time's relationship to death is more ambiguous. Characters die and come back. Characters are immortal. Characters exist in states between life and death. Death itself is a character who plays basketball. The show's relationship to mortality is so layered in mythology and exception and cosmic rule that death loses its sting. When anything can be undone by magic, when the rules of mortality are this flexible, the threat of loss diminishes. You stop worrying about characters because the show has taught you that death is negotiable. Regular Show teaches you the opposite. Death is real. It can happen in an instant. And the only thing that undoes it is extraordinary effort, sacrifice, and the willingness to fight for the people you love. If this kind of analysis is something you appreciate, subscribing helps ensure we can keep producing it. Let us talk about Skips in more detail, because Skip's story is one of the most important episodes in understanding why Regular Show's approach to character is superior to Adventure Time's. Skip's story is the 22nd episode of Regular Show's 5th season. It aired on April 14, 2014, as a half-hour special. It holds a 9.6 rating on IMDb, making it one of the highest-rated episodes of the entire series. And it tells you everything you need to know about who Skips is, why he skips, and what his immortality actually costs. The episode opens with Mordecai and Rigby asking Skips about his immortality. They make casual jokes about it, and Skips, reluctantly, agrees to tell them his story. We flash back to the 18th century. Skips is a teenager. He is not called Skips yet. He is called Walks. He is getting expelled from another school for fighting. He meets a girl named Mona. She tells him she does not like guys who fight. He promises her he will never fight again. They fall in love. They prepare for prom together. She decorates. He tries to be the kind of person she would want him to be. And then the guardians of eternal youth arrive. They tell Walks that a being named Clorgbane is coming. That Walks is the only one who can defeat him. That they have forged weapons called the Fists of Justice. That no mortal can hurt Clorgbane, and therefore Walks must become immortal. He must fight. Walks says no. He promised Mona he would never fight again. He is choosing love over duty. He is choosing the girl over the world. And the show lets you believe, for a moment, that this might work. That love might be enough. That choosing peace might be its own kind of strength. And then Clorgbane attacks during prom. And Mona, seeing Walks in danger, pushes him out of the way. And the ceiling collapses, and she dies. She dies because he would not fight. She dies because he chose love. And the lesson the show delivers, the lesson that Skips carries for centuries afterward, is that sometimes love is not enough. Sometimes the choice to be peaceful has a cost that someone else pays, and you have to live with that, forever. That is why he skips. He changed his name from Walks to Skips because Mona once told him that she liked the way he skipped. Every step he takes for the rest of eternity is a memorial. Every time he moves through the park, bouncing slightly on his way to fix something, he is remembering a girl who died centuries ago because he tried to be the kind of person she wanted him to be. That is not a backstory. That is a tragedy compressed into a single physical gesture that the show put in front of you for 5 seasons before telling you what it meant. Think about the patience that requires. Think about the trust in the audience that requires. For 5 seasons, Skip skipped. The audience noticed it. Some found it funny. Some found it odd. Some simply accepted it as a character quirk. And then, in season 5, the show tells you what it means. And suddenly every single frame of Skips, skipping across the park in every previous episode, becomes unbearably sad. The show retroactively transforms 5 seasons of background animation into an ongoing monument to lost love. That is a narrative achievement that very few shows in any medium have ever accomplished. Adventure Time does something similar with Ice King. For the first few seasons, Ice King is a villain, a joke, a pathetic kidnapper of princesses. And then Holly Jolly Secrets reveals that he was once Simon Petrikov, a kind and brilliant man who put on a crown to save a little girl and lost his mind forever. And suddenly every pathetic, villainous thing Ice King has ever done becomes tragic. Both shows pull off this trick brilliantly. Both shows use time and patience to build toward a revelation that transforms everything that came before. But here is the difference. After the Ice King revelation, Adventure Time cannot leave it alone. It returns to Simon's tragedy again and again. I remember you. Simon and Marcy. Betty. Come along with me. Each return adds new layers, new complications, new mythology. The tragedy becomes a mythology. It becomes about magical crowns and wish magic and the nature of consciousness and the ethics of erasing someone's pain if it also erases who they are. The tragedy gets bigger, and in getting bigger, it gets further from the simple, devastating truth of its origin. A man lost his mind and cannot get it back. Regular show tells Skips' story once. 1 episode, 30 minutes, and then it never goes back. It never complicates the tragedy. It never adds new layers. It never turns Mona into a myth or makes her death mean something beyond what it already means. Skip's story stays simple, stays personal, stays human. And because it stays simple, it stays devastating. Every time Skips appears on screen after Skip's story, you feel it. You feel the weight of centuries of loss sitting behind his calm, capable exterior. The show does not need to remind you. You remember. That is the power of simplicity. That is the power of trusting a story to do its work once and then letting it live in silence. There is a broader principle at work here. Regular show understands something about storytelling that Adventure Time does not fully grasp. The principle is this: the most powerful stories are the ones the audience completes in their own minds. The most devastating tragedies are the ones that give you just enough information and then step back, leaving you to feel the weight without being told how to feel. Adventure Time tells you how to feel. It gives you the music. It gives you the close-up on the crying character. It gives you the music. Regular show shows you a Yeti skipping across a park and trusts you to understand why that is the saddest thing you have ever seen. Let us talk about something that might seem superficial, but is actually central to why regular show works better as a complete viewing experience. The question of episode length and structure. Regular show episodes are 11 minutes long, with very few exceptions, mostly specials and the series finale. Every episode tells its story in exactly 11 minutes. This is not a constraint, it is a discipline. 11 minutes means no wasted time, no padding, no scenes that exist only to fill a runtime. Every moment in a regular show episode earns its place. Every line of dialogue, every visual gag, every beat of escalation serves the episode's story. There is no fat to trim because the format does not allow for fat. Adventure Time episodes are also 11 minutes long, but Adventure Time uses that 11 minutes differently. Because Adventure Time is building a continuous mythology, many of its episodes feel like fragments, like chapters in a larger story, rather than complete stories in themselves. An 11-minute episode will introduce a plot thread and not resolve it, will raise a question and not answer it, will show you a moment and leave its significance unclear until episodes or seasons later. This is not a flaw in the individual episodes. It is a feature of the show's serialized storytelling. But it means that individual episodes of Adventure Time are often less satisfying than individual episodes of regular show. They are building towards something rather than being something. They are promises rather than deliveries. Regular show delivers every single time. Every 11 minutes is a complete meal. A beginning, a middle, and an end. A problem, an escalation, and a resolution. A joke, a consequence, and a lesson. You never finish a regular show episode and think, well, I guess I need to watch the next one to understand what that was about. You always finish satisfied. You always finish with a complete experience. And for a show that people listen to while falling asleep, that completeness is not a small thing. It is the thing that makes the show work in this context. You can drift off during one episode and wake up during another and never feel lost. Each episode is a self-contained world. Each episode is its own small, perfect story. Your support through subscribing genuinely keeps this channel alive. We appreciate every single one of you. Let us talk about Benson. Because Benson is, in many ways, the character that regular show gets the most right. And the reason regular show gets him right is that it never makes the mistake that so many shows make with authority figures. It never makes him wrong. Benson is the park manager. He is a gumball machine. He screams. He threatens to fire Mordecai and Rigby on what seems like a daily basis. His face turns red, which for a gumball machine means the gumballs inside him vibrate and his glass dome turns crimson. He is, on the surface, the classic comedy antagonist. The uptight boss, the killjoy, the obstacle between our heroes and their fun. But here is the thing. Benson is right. He is always right. Mordecai and Rigby should be doing their jobs. They should be mowing the lawn. They should be picking up the trash. They should be maintaining the park. Every time Benson screams at them, he is screaming about something legitimate. His employees are terrible at their jobs. They cause supernatural disasters on a weekly basis. They cost the park thousands of dollars in damages. They regularly endanger the lives of every person in the park. Benson's frustration is not irrational. It is the most rational response imaginable to an impossible situation. And the show knows this. The show never undermines Benson's legitimate grievances by making him unreasonable or cruel. He is not a bad boss. He is a good boss in an insane situation. He genuinely cares about the park. He genuinely cares about his employees, even the ones who drive him to the edge of sanity daily. And as the show progresses, this becomes more and more apparent. Benson is not the antagonist. He is the only adult in the room. He is the only person who understands that actions have consequences, that responsibilities exist, that the world does not rearrange itself around your desires. He is the voice of reality in a show full of characters who are allergic to reality. The show's backstory for Benson makes this even more poignant. Benson grew up in a household where his father screamed at the dinner table, where he was told he had no talent, where he was told to get a real job. He became a drummer. He was good. He joined a band called Heir to the Throne and performed a legendary drum solo on a 150-piece drum kit. The band left him uncredited and then kicked him out, replacing him with a machine called the Drumotron 6. He was a stick hockey master under the name Death Dragon until his apprentice Dave was killed in a match. He lost his art, he lost his sport. He lost everything he was good at and ended up managing a park where two slackers refused to do the bare minimum. That is not the backstory of an antagonist. That is the backstory of a tragic figure. Benson is a man who had dreams and watched every single one of them die. A man whose father's voice is in his head every time he raises his own voice. A man who screams because he was taught that screaming is the only way to be heard. And the show reveals this gradually, across seasons, without ever making a big deal of it. Without ever having Benson sit everyone down and explain his pain. You learn about his past the way you learn about anyone's past in real life. In fragments, in offhand mentions, in moments where his guard drops and you glimpse something underneath. Adventure Time has authority figures. Princess Bubblegum is the most prominent. And Bubblegum is a fascinating character. A benevolent dictator who created her own subjects and rules them absolutely. A scientist whose pursuit of knowledge sometimes overrides her ethics. A leader who genuinely cares about her people, but whose definition of care sometimes looks like control. She is complex. She is compelling. But she is also positioned as powerful, as in control. As someone whose authority is backed by science and magic and centuries of accumulated knowledge. Her struggles are the struggles of someone at the top. Someone who has everything and must figure out what to do with it. Benson's struggles are the struggles of someone in the middle. Someone who has just enough authority to be responsible, but not enough to actually change anything. He cannot fire Mordecai and Rigby because Mr. Maillard, the park owner, will not allow it. He cannot fix the supernatural disasters because they are beyond his control. He cannot make his employees respect him because respect cannot be demanded, only earned. Benson is stuck. He is stuck in a way that is profoundly relatable to anyone who has ever been a middle manager, a team lead, a parent, a teacher, anyone whose job is to maintain order in an environment that seems designed to resist order. That relatability is what makes regular shows' supporting cast superior to Adventure Time's. It is not about which show has more complex characters. Adventure Time's characters are plenty complex. It is about which show's complexity maps onto real human experience. Benson's frustration maps onto your frustration. His lost dreams map onto your lost dreams. His slow, reluctant acceptance that this life, this park, these people, might be enough even though it is not what he imagined. That maps onto the acceptance that everyone must eventually reach about the gap between who they thought they would be and who they actually became. There is one more thing about Benson that the show handles with extraordinary grace. In the finale, when the montage shows what happened to everyone after the park, Benson stays. Everyone else leaves. Mordecai becomes a painter. Rigby builds a family. Muscle Man moves on. Benson stays at the park. He becomes the thing he was always becoming. The constant, the anchor, the person who keeps the lights on while everyone else goes off to live their lives. And the show frames this not as a failure, but as a choice. Benson does not stay because he is stuck. He stays because the park is his, because he made it matter. Because somewhere in the years of screaming and frustration and supernatural disasters, the park stopped being a consolation prize and became his life's work. That is not settling. That is arriving. Let us talk about something that the defenders of Adventure Time rarely acknowledge. The show's relationship to its own endings. Adventure Time has a problem with endings. Not just the series finale. Individual episode endings. Arc endings. Character endings. The show consistently struggles to close things out in a way that feels complete and satisfying. Part of this is structural. Adventure Time's serialized storytelling means that many episodes end on ambiguous notes. Threads are left dangling intentionally. Mysteries are preserved. Characters say goodbye and then come back. The show resists closure because closure contradicts its philosophy of infinite possibility and perpetual adventure. But resistance to closure and inability to achieve closure are different things. And over 10 seasons, the ambiguity that was once a feature begins to feel like a limitation. The Finn and Flame Princess storyline is a perfect example. Their relationship is built carefully over multiple episodes. Their breakup is earned and emotional. But after the breakup, the show never quite decides what to do with the aftermath. Flame Princess appears occasionally. The emotional weight of what happened between them is sometimes acknowledged and sometimes ignored. By the series finale, there is no resolution. No closure. The thread just stops being pulled. And the viewer is left not with the productive ambiguity of art, but with the unsatisfying ambiguity of a storyline that was simply abandoned. Regular show does not abandon storylines. It finishes them. Every romantic arc reaches a conclusion. Every character arc reaches a destination. Every question the show raises gets answered. Not always in the way you expect. Not always immediately, but always eventually. The show respects the viewer's investment by paying it off. It does not mistake ambiguity for depth. It does not mistake open-endedness for sophistication. It tells complete stories, and it completes those stories fully. Mordecai's love story ends with him marrying someone new. That is a conclusion. Rigby's growth ends with him graduating high school and building a family. That is a conclusion. Pops's cosmic burden ends with his sacrifice. That is a conclusion. Benson's loneliness ends with him finding purpose. That is a conclusion. Every thread tied, every question answered, every character given a complete sentence rather than a trailing ellipsis. This is not conservative storytelling. This is not the show being afraid of ambiguity. This is the show understanding that ambiguity is only powerful when it is chosen, not when it is the result of running out of time or losing interest. Regular shows' endings feel chosen. They feel deliberate. They feel like the show knew where each character was going from the beginning and simply took the time to get them there. Adventure Time's endings, with a few brilliant exceptions, feel like the show ran out of road. If you have made it this far into the video, you clearly care about this kind of thing. Subscribing is the best way to see more of it. There is something about regular shows' relationship to nostalgia that needs to be discussed. Because both shows are nostalgic. Both shows reference the past. Both shows love the cultural artifacts of previous decades. But they use nostalgia in fundamentally different ways. And the difference matters. Adventure Time's nostalgia is world-building nostalgia. The post-apocalyptic setting means that artifacts from our world appear as relics in theirs. VHS tapes, old video games, pre-war technology. These objects exist in the land of Ooo as mysterious fragments of a lost civilization. They are nostalgic for the audience, but exotic for the characters. The gap between the audience's recognition and the character's wonder is one of the show's primary sources of comedy and pathos. Regular shows' nostalgia is lived nostalgia. The show is set in the present day, but it is soaked in the cultural sensibility of the 1980s and early 1990s. VHS tapes, synth-heavy soundtracks, mullets, power gloves, arcade machines, horror movies with practical effects, hair metal bands. These are not relics in regular shows' world. They are current. They are alive. The characters use them, love them, argue about them. The show does not observe 1980s culture from a distance. It lives inside it. And the reason this matters is that regular shows' nostalgia is not decorative, it is structural. The show's love of the 1980s and 1990s is directly connected to its themes of arrested development and the difficulty of growing up. Mordecai and Rigby cling to the cultural artifacts of their childhood the way people in their early 20s cling to the cultural artifacts of their childhood. They play retro video games. They watch old movies. They listen to old music. Not because they are hipsters, because letting go of those things means admitting that they are adults now, means admitting that childhood is over, means facing the fact that the world expects them to be people they do not yet know how to be. The nostalgia in regular show is a character trait. It is a coping mechanism. It is the way Mordecai and Rigby maintain the illusion that nothing has changed, that they are still the same people they were at 15, that adulthood has not yet arrived. And the show's gradual movement away from pure nostalgia toward engagement with the present, toward responsibility, toward maturity, mirrors its characters' own gradual movement toward adulthood. By season 8, in space, facing cosmic stakes, the video games and the VHS tapes are less present. Not because the show forgot about them, because the characters outgrew them, because they finally, after 7 seasons of resistance, grew up. Adventure Time does not use nostalgia this way. Adventure Time's nostalgia is aesthetic, it is fun, it is a source of visual variety and cultural reference. But it is not tied to the show's themes in the way that regular shows' nostalgia is tied to its themes. Finn does not grow out of loving old video games because Finn never needed to grow out of anything. His world does not ask him to grow up the way Mordecai and Rigby's world asks them to grow up. In the land of Ooo, playing video games and going on adventures are not signs of arrested development. They are just what people do. There is no tension between pleasure and responsibility, because Finn's world does not make that distinction. This is the core of the comparison. Adventure Time imagines a world without the constraints that make growing up necessary. Regular Show exists entirely within those constraints. And the show that exists within the constraints has more to say about what it means to be alive. Because being alive means dealing with constraints. Being alive means wanting to play video games when you should be mowing the lawn. Being alive means the gap between who you are and who you should be. Being alive means growing up whether you want to or not. Regular Show is about that. Adventure Time is about something else. Something beautiful and strange and imaginative and wonderful. But not that. Not the thing that actually defines most human lives. Let us go back to Rigby one more time. Because Rigby's Graduation Day special is perhaps the single episode that best captures everything Regular Show does better than Adventure Time. The episode aired during Season 7. It is a half-hour special. The premise is that Rigby, who dropped out of high school years ago, has finally completed his diploma. He has been attending classes in secret. He has been doing the work. And now he is being asked to give a graduation speech on a television show called Inspire America, because his story, the story of a dropout who came back, is the kind of story people need to hear. Think about what that setup means in the context of 8 seasons of character development. Rigby, the character who was introduced as the laziest person alive. Rigby, who once sabotaged Mordecai's college application because he was afraid of being left behind. Rigby, who spent years avoiding every form of responsibility. That Rigby went back to school, in secret, without telling anyone, without making a big deal of it. He just did it, quietly, for himself, because he wanted to be better, because Eileen made him want to be better, because somewhere in the slow accretion of years and episodes and small moments of growth, he decided that he deserved more from himself. And when he gives his speech, when he stands in front of the camera and tells America what he learned, he does not say anything grandiose. He says he is not good at a lot of things. He says he went back because he wanted to impress Eileen. He is honest about his limitations and his motivations. He does not pretend to be a hero. He does not frame his story as inspirational in the traditional sense. He just tells the truth. And the truth is small and specific and deeply human. Adventure Time could never tell this story. Not because it lacks the skill, because it lacks the framework. Finn does not go to school. Finn does not have a diploma to earn. Finn does not have the kind of ordinary, achievable goals that make this kind of story possible. Finn's goals are cosmic. Save the world. Defeat evil. Protect the innocent. Those are noble goals. Those are important goals. But they are not goals that the audience can map onto their own lives. You cannot watch Finn save the Candy Kingdom and feel inspired to go back to school. You cannot watch Finn defeat the Lich and feel motivated to finish your homework. The gap between his achievements and yours is too vast. When Rigby gets his diploma, you feel something. You feel it because you understand what it cost him, not in cosmic terms, in human terms, in the terms of someone who spent years running from his own inadequacy and finally turned around and faced it. That is a story that can change your life, not metaphorically, literally. Someone watching that episode, someone who dropped out, someone who feels like they are too old or too stupid or too far gone to go back. Someone like that can watch Rigby's graduation and think, if he can do it, maybe I can too. That is the power of telling stories about ordinary people doing ordinary, difficult things. It is the power that Regular Show has and Adventure Time, for all its brilliance, does not. If you are enjoying this, take a moment to subscribe. It costs nothing, and it helps more than you know. There is something about fear that Regular Show understands better than any animated show of its generation. And it is this. The things that scare you most are rarely the things that should scare you. The things that actually destroy your life are small. They are mundane. They are the conversation you refuse to have, the job you refuse to leave, the person you refuse to let go of, the truth you refuse to tell yourself. Regular Show takes these small, quiet, everyday fears and makes them into monsters, literal monsters. And in doing so, it gives you permission to take your own fears seriously. Hello Governor is the first episode of Season 2. It aired on November 29, 2010. The premise is that Rigby watches a horror movie about a possessed British taxicab and becomes terrified. He cannot sleep. He has nightmares. The taxi appears in his dreams, running him down. And then, the taxi appears in real life. It chases him through the park. It tries to kill him. And Rigby has to face his fear directly. He has to fight the thing that terrifies him. And when he finally does, when he finally stands his ground and punches the taxi, it turns out to be a store employee demanding payment for the overdue rental. On the surface, this is a comedy about an overdue video rental and an overactive imagination. But underneath that, stripped of the comedy, it is a story about anxiety, about the way fear distorts reality, about the way a small, manageable problem, returning a video, can grow in your mind until it becomes a pursuing demon, about the way avoidance feeds fear until the fear becomes larger than the thing you were avoiding in the first place. Rigby was not afraid of a taxi. He was afraid of consequence. He was afraid of what happens when you ignore your responsibilities and they come looking for you. Every viewer who has ever let a small task grow into an unbearable anxiety in their mind knows exactly what this episode is about. Every viewer who has ever avoided opening a letter or returning a phone call or checking their bank balance because the not knowing felt safer than the knowing, every single one of those viewers sees themselves in Rigby, cowering from a British taxicab. The show takes an internal, invisible experience, the experience of anxiety, and makes it external and visible and fightable. It says, your fear is real. It is as real as a haunted car chasing you through the night. And the only way through it is through it. That is therapy disguised as an 11-minute cartoon. That is genuine emotional intelligence deployed through slapstick comedy. Adventure Time deals with fear differently. When Adventure Time characters face fear, the fear is usually proportionate to the threat. The Lich is genuinely terrifying. Golb is genuinely dangerous. The stakes justify the fear. But that proportionality means that Adventure Time's treatment of fear does not map onto the audience's actual emotional experience. Most people are not afraid of ancient demons or cosmic entities. Most people are afraid of phone calls and deadlines and the look on someone's face when they are disappointed in you. Most people's fears are absurdly disproportionate to their causes. Regular Show understands this. It builds its entire comedic engine on this understanding. And in doing so, it validates the audience's emotional reality in a way that epic, proportionate storytelling never can. The Terror Tales of the Park episodes extend this understanding of fear across the entire series. Every Halloween, Regular Show produces an anthology episode where the characters tell scary stories to each other. These episodes are not canon. Characters can die in them. The rules of the Regular Show do not apply. And what is remarkable about these episodes is how personal the fears are. They are not about abstract evil. They are about specific anxieties, about moving into a house with a dark history, about objects that carry the weight of their previous owners, about the gap between what a place looks like and what it actually is. The horror in Regular Show is always domestic. It is always rooted in the everyday. A haunted bed, a possessed car, a cursed videotape. The show finds horror in the objects of ordinary life, because ordinary life is where actual horror lives for most people. Not in dungeons or dark dimensions, in your own bedroom, in your own car, in the space between waking and sleeping where the mundane becomes monstrous. Let us talk about something else. Let us talk about the way Regular Show handles its secondary and tertiary characters, because this is where the show's commitment to treating every character as a full person becomes most apparent. Thomas, the park intern introduced in Season 4's Exit 9B, is a perfect example. For nearly 2 full seasons, Thomas is the most normal character in the show. He is a goat. He is a college student working an internship. He is polite, quiet, and utterly unremarkable. He is the straight man in a world of eccentric personalities. He is the character who represents the audience, the person looking around and thinking, is this normal? Is any of this normal? And then, in Season 6, in the episode The Real Thomas, the show reveals that Thomas is not Thomas at all. He is Nikolai, a Russian spy, born in Kiev, abandoned by his parents, raised by the Russian government as a weapon, sent to America with a handler posing as his mother to infiltrate the park and steal it using rockets. That is an absurd reveal. It is played for comedy. It is one of the most unexpected twists in the show's run. But what makes it work, what elevates it beyond a simple joke, is what comes after. When Thomas discovers that Russia's actual plan is not to steal the park but to destroy it, to kill everyone on it, he turns. He betrays his handlers. He saves his friends, and then he has to leave. because he is now wanted by both the United States and Russia. He thanks the park crew for being the best friends he has ever had, and he disappears. The show gives its most unremarkable character the most remarkable backstory, and then it takes him away, and the park goes on without him. Nobody replaces him. His absence is simply there, a space where a person used to be, and the show does not dwell on it, but it does not erase it either. Thomas existed. Thomas mattered. Thomas is gone. That is the rhythm of life. People arrive. People leave. The world does not stop. You just notice the space they left behind. Adventure Time introduces new characters constantly. Its world is vast enough to accommodate hundreds of unique beings, each with their own personality and design and potential for storylines. But many of these characters arrive, serve a function for 1 or 2 episodes, and then disappear without consequence. The world of OO is full of characters who exist as possibilities rather than as presences. They could be developed further, they might be, but many of them never are. Regular show's smaller world means that every character who appears matters. There is no background population. There is no crowd of unnamed citizens. There is just the park and the people in it, and every single one of them has a name and a story and a reason for being there. High Five Ghost is the ultimate test case for this principle. High Five Ghost is, for most of the show's run, the quietest character in the main cast. He is Muscle Man's best friend. He is a floating ghost with a hand on top of his head. He high-fives people. That is, seemingly, the entirety of his character. And yet the show, patiently, across years, reveals more. He has a brother named Low Five Ghost. He has a love interest named Celia, who he met in a coffee shop 4 years before the audience meets her. He likes down-tempo electronica. He does not own a phone. He has a soft spot for aquariums. He does not like the food at Wing Kingdom. None of these details are essential to the plot. None of them drive episodes or create conflicts. They are just details. Just the small, specific, completely unnecessary facts that make a fictional character feel like a real person. The show gives them to High Five Ghost because it believes he deserves them, because it believes that every character, no matter how minor, no matter how quiet, deserves to be a full person rather than a function. That is a philosophy. That is a creative commitment. And it is one that regular show maintains with absolute consistency across its entire run. Let us talk about one more thing, the question of difficulty. Because there is a version of this argument that says, Adventure Time is better because it is harder, because it attempts more difficult things, because it takes more risks, because it pushes the boundaries of what animated television can be in ways that regular show never attempts. And that argument is not wrong about the facts. Adventure Time does attempt more. It does push more boundaries. It does take more risks. It tells stories from the perspective of inanimate objects. It produces episodes without dialogue. It experiments with narrative structure in ways that are genuinely groundbreaking. It attempts things that no children's animated show had ever attempted before. That is true. That is admirable. That is worthy of praise. But difficulty is not a virtue in itself. A show that attempts something incredibly difficult and fails is not better than a show that attempts something manageable and succeeds completely. And regular show succeeds completely. Not every episode is a masterpiece. Not every joke lands. But the show's hit rate, the percentage of episodes that accomplish exactly what they set out to accomplish, is remarkably high. Higher than Adventure Time's. Because regular show knows what it is. It knows what it does well. And it does what it does well, consistently, for 8 seasons, without ever overreaching in a way that produces a bad episode. Adventure Time's willingness to experiment means that some experiments fail. There are episodes of Adventure Time that simply do not work, that are confusing, or boring, or tonally misguided, that attempt something new and do not quite pull it off. These failures are the price of ambition. They are the cost of pushing boundaries. And some would argue that the peaks enabled by that ambition more than compensate for the valleys. That one I Remember You is worth 10 mediocre filler episodes. But there is another way to think about it. There is a way to think about consistency as its own form of ambition. The ambition to be great every single time. To deliver a satisfying experience with every single episode. To never let the audience down. To never waste their time. To never produce something that is merely okay. That is an ambition too. And it is an ambition that regular show comes closer to fulfilling than any other animated show of its generation. Think about what it means to maintain quality across 244 episodes. Think about the discipline that requires, the focus, the refusal to get bored with your own format, the refusal to chase novelty at the expense of consistency, the commitment to doing the same thing, telling the same kind of story, deploying the same comedic formula, and making it feel fresh every single time. That is mastery. That is craft elevated to the level of art, and it is every bit as impressive as Adventure Time's most boundary-pushing experiments, even if it is less flashy, even if it is quieter, even if it does not generate think pieces and academic papers and fan wikis with thousands of entries. The best comparison is to music. Adventure Time is progressive rock. It is constantly changing time signatures, introducing new instruments, pushing into unexplored territory, attempting things that have never been attempted before. Regular Show is punk rock. 3 chords, 2 minutes, perfect execution, nothing wasted, nothing extra, just the essential elements, deployed with absolute precision, hitting you in the chest every single time. Both are valid forms of musical expression. Both can achieve greatness. But when you are falling asleep, when you want something consistent and warm and reliable, when you want something that will hold you without demanding your full attention, punk rock is better than prog rock. Simplicity is better than complexity. Consistency is better than ambition. Regular Show is better than Adventure Time. There is one final comparison to make, one final argument to lay out before this video reaches its conclusion. And it is about endings. Not the endings of the shows themselves, which have been discussed at length, but about what the shows say, in their final moments, about what matters. Adventure Time ends with a song. BMO sings Time Adventure, which includes the lyrics about how time is an illusion, and every moment that has ever happened is still happening somewhere. The finale's message is that nothing truly ends, that everything is forever, that time is not linear and therefore loss is not real. It is a comforting message. It is a beautiful message, but it is also, fundamentally, a denial. It is the show saying, do not grieve. Nothing is really gone. Everything you loved still exists somewhere in the fabric of space-time. Regular Show ends with a montage. It ends with heroes playing over images of people getting older, getting wrinkled, getting gray, living their lives and running out of them. The finale's message is the opposite of Adventure Time's. It says, everything ends, time is real. These people grew up and grew old and they will die. And the beauty is not that they will exist forever. The beauty is that they existed at all. The beauty is in the fact that it was brief, that it was temporary, that the park was just a park and the friends were just friends, and the years were just years, and none of it will last, and all of it mattered anyway. That is a harder message to deliver. That is a braver message. Adventure Time comforts you by denying loss. Regular Show comforts you by honoring it. By saying, yes, this will end. Everything will end. But look at what happened while it lasted. Look at these people who loved each other. Look at these years they shared. Look at this ordinary, unremarkable, beautiful life they built together, in a park that nobody else will ever remember. That is enough. That was always enough. There is something about the sound of Regular Show that needs to be discussed, because the show's sonic identity is one of the most distinctive in animated television, and it is directly responsible for the show's unique emotional texture. Mark Mothersbaugh composed the original score for Regular Show. Mothersbaugh is one of the founding members of Devo, the legendary new wave band that emerged in the late 1970s and defined the sound of a generation. His involvement with Regular Show is not incidental, it is foundational. The score he created, working through his production company Mutato Musica alongside John Enroth and Albert Fox, draws directly on the synthesizer-driven sound of the late 1970s and 1980s. It is a score that sounds like analog warmth, like tape hiss, like the inside of an arcade in 1986. It is a score that locates you in a specific emotional space before the characters say a single word. The licensed music amplifies this. Regular Show uses songs from the 1980s, not as ironic commentary, but as sincere emotional punctuation. Working for the Weekend by Loverboy, You're the Best Around from the Karate Kid soundtrack, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds. These songs are not jokes. They are not winking references. They are the actual soundtrack of Mordecai and Rigby's emotional lives. When a montage plays over one of these tracks, the show is not saying, remember the 80s. It is saying, This is what this moment feels like. The 80s are not a punchline, they are a language. Adventure Time has excellent music as well. The show's original songs, many written by Rebecca Sugar before she left to create Steven Universe, are beautiful and emotionally complex. Everything Stays, I'm Just Your Problem, Remember You. These songs are among the best original music in animated television, but they function differently than regular show's music. Adventure Time songs are moments of emotional climax. They appear at peak intensity, when a character is at their most vulnerable, when the show is reaching for its deepest emotional notes. They are special. They are events. Regular show's music is ambient. It is atmospheric. It is the constant hum underneath everything that happens. The synthesizers do not appear at peak moments. They are there all the time, in the background, in the transitions, in the quiet moments between jokes. The music is not event, it is environment, and that constant sonic presence creates a texture that is uniquely suited to background listening, to falling asleep to. The synths are warm and continuous in a way that creates a sonic blanket. They never jar, they never spike. They simply hold you in a consistent emotional space for the entire duration of the episode. That is what makes Regular Show one of the greatest sleep content shows ever created. It is not just the writing or the pacing or the vocal delivery. It is the sound. The sound holds you. The Season 1 finale, Mordecai and the Rigbys, which aired on November 22, 2010, is a perfect example of how the show uses music as character development rather than just decoration. Mordecai and Rigby form a band. They write a song called Party Tonight. They perform it at an open mic night, and they are caught lip-syncing. The song is not real. Their performance is not real. And the show uses this as a metaphor for everything Mordecai struggles with throughout the series. The gap between who he presents himself as and who he actually is. The fear of putting himself out there authentically. The temptation to fake it rather than risk genuine expression and genuine failure. The episode is inspired by the real-life story of Milli Vanilli, the pop duo who were famously exposed for lip-syncing in 1990. But the show does not make this reference for laughs. It makes it to tell a story about the terror of authenticity, about how much easier it is to hide behind someone else's voice, someone else's talent, someone else's work, than to stand in front of a crowd and offer something that is truly yours. Mordecai will spend 6 more seasons after this episode learning to be authentic, learning to express himself directly rather than through proxies and performances and elaborate avoidance strategies. The band episode is the seed. Everything that follows is the growth. We are nearing the end now. If you have not subscribed yet, this is your last reminder. It really does help. Let us talk about something that Regular Show does better than almost any animated show of its era. The show handles the complexity of adult friendships with a specificity that is almost unmatched in the medium. Adult friendships are complicated. They are not the pure, uncomplicated bonds of childhood. They carry resentment. They carry history. They carry the weight of every time you were disappointed in each other, every time you let each other down, every time you chose yourself over the other person. And they carry, alongside all of that resentment, a loyalty so deep it is indistinguishable from love. That combination, love and resentment coexisting in the same relationship, is what adult friendship actually feels like, and Regular Show captures it with extraordinary precision. Mordecai and Rigby's friendship is not simple. Mordecai resents Rigby. He resents his laziness, his selfishness, his refusal to grow up. He resents the fact that Rigby holds him back. He resents the fact that his own inability to move forward is partly because Rigby makes it easy to stay still. And Rigby resents Mordecai. He resents his condescension, his way of acting superior while being equally stuck, his willingness to mock Rigby's ambitions while having none of his own. Their friendship is built on mutual frustration as much as mutual affection. And the show never resolves this tension. It never gives you the episode where they sit down and acknowledge their resentments and emerge with a clean, uncomplicated bond. Because that is not how adult friendships work. You do not resolve the tension. You carry it. You carry it alongside the love and the history and the 1,000 shared experiences that make this person irreplaceable despite everything about them that drives you insane. Mordecai and Rigby carry each other through 8 seasons, through supernatural disasters and romantic failures and career stagnation and eventual growth. They carry each other not because they are perfect friends, but because they are the only friends who understand what being each other feels like. There is an episode in Season 3 called Bet to be Blonde. It aired on September 26, 2011. The premise is simple. Mordecai loses a bet to Rigby and has to dye his hair blonde. Once blonde, Mordecai is recruited by a group of blonde-haired men who want him to join their exclusive club. The blondes offer Mordecai something Rigby never offers him: respect, admiration, the sense of being special. And Mordecai, briefly, chooses them over Rigby. The episode is a comedy. It is absurd. The blonde men turn out to be a cult. There is a battle. Mordecai and Rigby reconcile. But underneath the comedy is a very real and very painful truth about friendship. The truth is that sometimes your best friend is not the person who makes you feel best about yourself. Sometimes they are the person who keeps you honest, who refuses to let you perform a version of yourself that is not real, who reminds you, by their very presence, of who you actually are, rather than who you wish you were. The blonde men made Mordecai feel special. Rigby makes Mordecai feel real. And in the end, real is more valuable than special, even when it is harder. Adventure Time depicts friendship differently. Finn and Jake's friendship is beautiful and deep, but it is also uncomplicated in ways that regular shows' friendships refuse to be. Finn and Jake do not resent each other. They do not hold each other back. They do not carry years of accumulated frustration. Their friendship is one of pure support, pure loyalty, pure love without the corrosive additions that real long-term friendships inevitably accumulate. And while that purity is appealing, while it is comforting, it is also less recognizable, less honest, less true to the experience of maintaining a friendship across the messy, difficult years of early adulthood. There is a broader pattern here that runs through everything this video has been arguing. Regular show chooses truth over comfort, chooses complexity over simplicity, chooses the messy, ambiguous, contradictory reality of human experience over the clean, satisfying narratives we tell ourselves about who we are and how we relate to each other. And it does all of this while remaining funny, while remaining accessible, while remaining a show that an 8-year-old can enjoy and a 28-year-old can find profound. That combination of depth and accessibility is extraordinarily rare, and it is the thing that makes regular show not just better than Adventure Time, but one of the best animated shows ever made. Let us talk about one more thing before this video reaches its conclusion: the question of trust. Specifically, the trust each show places in its audience. Adventure Time trusts its audience to be smart, to decode mythology, to remember details from episodes that aired years earlier, to piece together timelines and backstories and hidden connections. It trusts its audience intellectually, and that trust is rewarding. Figuring out an Adventure Time mystery, connecting two seemingly unrelated episodes, understanding a reference that was planted seasons before its payoff, that feels good. It feels like the show respects your intelligence. Regular show trusts its audience to be emotionally mature, to recognize the truth of a situation without being told what to feel, to understand that a Yeti who skips is heartbroken without the show explaining it, to understand that a gumball machine who screams is scared without the show spelling it out, to understand that two friends who are always together but constantly fighting love each other without the show ever using the word. Regular show trusts its audience emotionally, and that is a deeper, rarer form of trust. Intellectual trust flatters you. Emotional trust changes you. Intellectual trust makes you feel smart. Emotional trust makes you feel seen. And the experience of feeling seen by a piece of art, of watching a cartoon about a blue jay and a raccoon, and recognizing your own deepest fears and hopes and failures reflected in their animated faces, that experience is more valuable than any amount of clever mythology or hidden lore. That is what regular show offers. That is what it has always offered. The simple, devastating experience of being seen, of watching characters who are not heroes, who are not special, who are not chosen by destiny or burdened by cosmic significance, and recognizing yourself in them, in their laziness, in their fear, in their inability to express what they feel directly, in their slow, reluctant, painful growth towards something like adulthood, in the gap between who they are and who they want to be. That gap is where all of us live, and regular show is the only show that set up camp inside it and stayed for 8 seasons. Thank you for staying with this all the way through. Now let us bring it home. Let us talk about the legacy of these two shows, because legacy is not the same as quality. but it reveals something about what each show meant to its audience, and what it continues to mean now, years after both ended. Adventure Time's legacy is cultural. It changed animation. It opened doors. It proved that animated shows could tackle mature themes without being relegated to Adult Swim blocks. It launched careers. Rebecca Sugar left to create Steven Universe. Patrick McHale left to create Over the Garden Wall. Adam Muto, Kent Osborne, Jesse Moynihan. All of them went on to shape the medium in significant ways. Adventure Time is a tree from which an entire generation of animation grew. That legacy is enormous and undeniable. Regular Show's legacy is personal. It did not change the industry the way Adventure Time did. It did not spawn a generation of imitators the way Adventure Time did. Its influence is visible in shows like Breadwinners, Apple and Onion, and Smiling Friends. But it did not create a movement. What Regular Show created was something smaller and in many ways more valuable. It created a relationship with its audience. A personal, intimate, ongoing relationship that survives the show's ending. People do not theorize about Regular Show. They do not decode its mythology or build elaborate wikis. They rewatch it. They fall asleep to it. They return to it, the way you return to a friend's house. Not because anything new is happening there, because being there feels like home. That is a different kind of legacy, a quieter kind. The kind that does not generate articles or academic papers, but that lives in millions of individual bedrooms at 2 a.m. when someone cannot sleep and puts on an episode of Regular Show and feels, for 11 minutes, like everything is going to be okay. That is what this show did. That is what it continues to do. It became a companion, not a monument, not a landmark. A companion, something you keep next to you because its presence makes the world feel less overwhelming. Adventure Time is admired. Regular Show is loved. And there is a difference between those two things that matters enormously. Admiration keeps its distance. Love gets close. Admiration is intellectual. Love is physical. Admiration says, "That was brilliant." Love says, "I need you." And the people who love Regular Show need it in a way that the people who admire Adventure Time do not quite need Adventure Time. They need it because it understands them, because it sees the parts of them that they are most afraid of, the laziness, the cowardice, the inability to commit, the fear of growing up, and it says, "I see those things, and they are okay, and you are going to be okay, and you are going to grow up eventually, even if it takes longer than you think, even if it happens so slowly you do not notice, even if the person you become is not the person you imagined, you are going to be okay." That message, that simple, warm, unglamorous message, that is what Regular Show gave its audience. And it is a message that Adventure Time, for all its philosophical sophistication, for all its explorations of time and existence and the nature of reality, never quite delivers. Adventure Time says, the universe is strange and beautiful and terrifying and infinite. Regular Show says, your life is enough. Both messages have value, but only one of them helps you sleep at night. There is something about the way Regular Show became part of the sleep content phenomenon that needs to be acknowledged, because it is not an accident. It is not a quirk of the algorithm or a coincidence of timing. Regular Show is structurally, tonally, and philosophically designed to be the perfect thing to listen to as you drift off to sleep. Not because it is boring, because it is safe. The show's rhythm is the rhythm of breath, long sentences that carry you forward, short sentences that let you rest, escalation that builds slowly, peaks gently, and resolves completely. No cliffhangers, no unresolved tension, no shock reveals designed to jolt you awake. Every episode begins in calm, escalates to controlled chaos, and returns to calm. That pattern, repeated across 244 episodes, creates a circadian rhythm of its own. It trains your body to relax, to trust that the chaos will resolve, to trust that everything will be okay by the end. And that trust, that earned, accumulated trust, built across years of consistent delivery, is what allows you to let go, to close your eyes, to stop worrying about what comes next because you know, with the absolute certainty of 7 years of evidence, that what comes next is resolution, is calm, is a return to the park, unchanged, ready for tomorrow. Adventure Time does not offer this. Adventure Time is designed to keep you watching, to make you wonder what happens next, to make you need the next episode. Its serialized structure, its mysteries, its cliffhangers, its unanswered questions, all of it is designed to create forward momentum, to keep your eyes open, to keep your mind active. That is excellent television. That is compelling storytelling. But it is not what you want at 2 in the morning when your mind will not stop racing and you need something to hold you while you fall asleep. Regular show holds you. That is the difference. That is the whole difference. Adventure Time excites you. Regular show holds you. Let us talk about one more thing. The way Meteor Moves captures something about romance that no other animated show has ever captured quite as well. Meteor Moves is the 28th episode of Regular Show's 4th season. It aired on June 10, 2013. In this episode, after 4 seasons of build-up, after dozens of episodes of Mordecai being unable to express his feelings, after countless failed attempts and near misses, and moments where courage failed him at the last second, Mordecai finally kisses Margaret. The episode creates a surreal literalization of what Mordecai's cowardice actually costs him. When he hesitates, when the moment arrives and he cannot move, he and Margaret are transported to the friend zone. Not a metaphorical friend zone, a literal dimension maintained by a cosmic being called the Guardian of the Friend Zone, a place where people who cannot cross the line between friendship and romance are trapped forever. The show takes the internal experience of paralysis, the feeling of wanting something so badly that the wanting itself becomes the obstacle, and makes it into a physical space, a prison, a place you can be trapped in forever if you do not find the courage to move. And then Mordecai kisses her. In the friend zone itself, in the presence of the Guardian, against the rules, against the architecture of the universe that was designed to keep them apart. He kisses her because he has to, because he has run out of room to hesitate, because the show has shown him, literally, where hesitation leads, and it looks like eternity spent 6 inches from the person you love. That is what regular show does. It takes the internal and makes it external. It takes the invisible and makes it visible. It takes the feelings that you cannot articulate, the paralysis and the fear and the desperate wanting and the inability to act, and it gives them form. It gives them bodies. It gives them worlds. And in doing so, it makes those feelings less frightening. Because once something has a form, you can fight it. Once something has a body, you can push past it. Once something has a world, you can escape from it. Regular show takes your formless, shapeless fears and gives them names and shapes and addresses. And that is a gift. Adventure Time does not do this. Adventure Time creates worlds that are external to the viewer's experience. The nightosphere, the crystal dimension, lumpy space. These are places that exist in the show's mythology. They are fascinating. They are visually stunning, but they are not you. They are not the inside of your head given form. They are somebody else's imagination, and while visiting somebody else's imagination is delightful, it is not the same thing as seeing your own fears and hopes rendered in animation, and realizing that they were never as formless or as overwhelming as they seemed. Let us talk about one more dimension of regular show's excellence, the way it handles the theme of self-sabotage. Because self-sabotage is the show's secret subject. Underneath the comedy, underneath the supernatural escalation, underneath the workplace sitcom and the buddy comedy, and the romance, and the coming of age, there is a show about people who destroy the things they want most, and the slow, excruciating process of learning to stop. Bad Kiss is the Season 3 finale. It aired on September 3, 2012. In this episode, Mordecai and Margaret finally kiss. After 3 seasons of build-up, 3 seasons of stammering and failed attempts and missed opportunities, they kiss. And the kiss is bad. Not emotionally bad. Physically bad. Mordecai had a chili dog earlier. His breath is terrible. Margaret pulls away. And Mordecai, rather than accepting the imperfect moment, rather than laughing it off and trying again, decides to go back in time and erase it. Think about what that reveals. Mordecai gets the thing he wanted for 3 years. And because it was not perfect, because reality did not match the fantasy, he tries to undo it. He would rather have no kiss at all than a flawed kiss. He would rather have the dream of the perfect first kiss intact than the reality of an imperfect one. He chooses the idea over the experience, the fantasy over the truth. And the time travel goes wrong, as it always does in this show, and he ends up losing the kiss entirely. He gets nothing, not even the bad version. That is self-sabotage, rendered as literal narrative. The show takes the internal psychological mechanism, the mechanism by which people destroy good things because those things are not perfect, and makes it into a plot. Mordecai's time machine is his perfectionism given form. His desire to undo and redo and control and perfect is the enemy of his own happiness. And the show shows you this clearly, plainly, without metaphor. Here is a person who had what he wanted and destroyed it because it was not good enough. Here is how that destroys you. Adventure Time's characters face external obstacles, villains, curses, cosmic threats. The things that stand between Finn and happiness are outside of him. They are problems to be solved through adventure and cleverness and bravery. Regular show's characters face internal obstacles. The things that stand between Mordecai and happiness are inside of him. They are his own fears, his own perfectionism, his own inability to act, his own tendency to sabotage the very things he works hardest to achieve. And internal obstacles are harder to defeat than external ones, because you cannot fight yourself with a sword. Season 3's Think Positive makes this explicit through Benson's story. In this episode, Pops orders Benson to stop yelling at Mordecai and Rigby, threatening to fire him if he yells again. Benson buys a self-help tape. He tries to be calm. He repeats mantras. He practices breathing. And when the inevitable crisis arrives, when Mordecai and Rigby crash the cart, Benson's suppressed anger literally becomes a force of nature. A ball of fury surrounds him. It begins pulling trees from the ground. The park itself is threatened by the sheer force of his unexpressed rage. And then Benson screams. He delivers the longest, most cathartic rant of the entire series. And as he screams, the camera reveals that he is crying, sobbing. The anger was never anger at all. It was grief. It was frustration. It was the sound of a person who has been told his whole life that screaming is the only way to be heard, finally breaking under the weight of that belief. The episode tells you, in a single image of a gumball machine weeping mid-tantrum, everything you need to know about the relationship between anger and pain, about how the loudest people in any room are almost always the ones hurting the most, about how what looks like rage is usually just sadness that does not know how to express itself any other way. That moment, that single frame of Benson crying while screaming, that is regular show at its absolute best. That is the show's entire philosophy compressed into one image. The comedy is not separate from the pain. The absurdity is not separate from the truth. They are the same thing. They are always the same thing. And the show trusts you to see both simultaneously, to laugh and to ache at the same time, to recognize the comedy in someone's pain without diminishing either the comedy or the pain. This is what separates regular show from every other animated show of its era, including Adventure Time. Not the quality of the jokes, although the jokes are excellent. Not the quality of the animation, although the animation is beautiful. Not the quality of the writing, although the writing is superb. What separates it is this: regular show trusts you to hold contradictions, to laugh at something that is also sad, to find something funny that is also true, to see comedy and tragedy as the same story told from two different angles. And in trusting you to hold those contradictions, it treats you as a full human being rather than an audience to be managed. It does not separate the funny parts from the serious parts. It does not signal when you should laugh and when you should feel. It gives you everything at once and trusts you to sort it out yourself. That trust is rare. That trust is precious. And that trust is what makes regular show not just better than Adventure Time, but one of the most important animated shows ever created. Not because of its scope or its ambition or its legacy or its awards, because of its faith in the audience, because of its refusal to simplify, because of its absolute, unwavering commitment to the belief that ordinary lives contain extraordinary depths, and that those depths are available to anyone willing to look. There is one more element of regular show's genius that demands attention before this video ends. It is the show's relationship to the formula itself, the formula, the thing that every regular show episode follows. Mundane task, complication, escalation, supernatural crisis, resolution, return to normal. That formula is present in nearly every one of the 244 episodes. And the remarkable thing, the thing that elevates regular show from good to great, is that the formula never gets old. Just Set Up the Chairs is the second episode of the entire series. It aired in September 2010. The premise could not be simpler. Benson tells Mordecai and Rigby to set up chairs for a birthday party. That is the task. Set up chairs. And within 11 minutes, that task has transformed into a battle against a giant 8-bit creature called the Destroyer of Worlds that emerges from a broken arcade machine after Rigby connects 2 wires he was told not to connect. Rigby defeats the Destroyer through button mashing. The chairs get set up. The day is saved. This is the 2nd episode. The formula is already perfect. And here is the astonishing thing. 242 episodes later, in the series finale, the formula is still working. The escalation has become cosmic. The stakes have become universal. Pops is fighting his evil twin to save all of existence. But the underlying structure is the same. Ordinary people face an ordinary day. Something goes wrong. The wrongness escalates beyond all proportion. The ordinary people, through friendship and determination and a refusal to give up, solve the problem. The world returns to normal, or as close to normal as it can after what just happened. The fact that this formula sustains 244 episodes without ever feeling tired is not an accident. It is not luck. It is evidence of extraordinary craft. The formula works because it is rooted in truth. The truth is that life feels like this. Life feels like a series of simple tasks that become impossibly complicated because of your own bad decisions or because of forces beyond your control. Life feels like you are just trying to set up some chairs and suddenly the world is ending. Life feels like escalation. Like you blinked and the thing that was manageable became the thing that is consuming everything. And the formula captures that feeling so precisely, so consistently, that 244 repetitions of it never stop feeling true. Adventure Time does not have a formula. It has modes. It has episodes that are pure adventure, episodes that are pure lore, episodes that are pure comedy, episodes that are pure emotion. The variety is one of its strengths, but the absence of a formula means the absence of reliability. You never quite know what you are getting with an Adventure Time episode. It might be transcendent. It might be forgettable. It might change the show forever. It might be completely inconsequential. That unpredictability keeps you engaged. It keeps you watching. But it also means that the show cannot build the kind of trust that regular show builds. Because trust requires consistency. Trust requires knowing what you will get. Trust requires the confidence that comes from 244 demonstrations of the same promise being kept. Regular show keeps its promise every single time. The promise is, you will laugh. You will recognize yourself. The mundane will become extraordinary. The extraordinary will resolve. And you will feel, at the end, like everything is going to be okay. That promise, kept 244 times without exception, is what makes regular show one of the greatest comfort shows ever created. Let us consider, finally, what these two shows say about the nature of heroism itself, because both shows have heroes, but they define heroism in fundamentally different ways. Adventure Time's definition of heroism is classical. Finn is a hero in the traditional sense. He fights evil. He protects the innocent. He goes on quests. He faces monsters. He risks his life for others. His heroism is external. It is visible. It produces results that are measurable and obvious. You can point to a villain defeated, a kingdom saved, a princess rescued, and say, that is what heroism looks like. Regular show's definition of heroism is modern. Mordecai and Rigby are heroes in a completely different sense. Their heroism is not in the fighting, although they fight. It is not in the saving, although they save. Their heroism is in the showing up, in the trying again after failing, in the going to work when you do not want to, in the calling the person back when you are afraid of what they will say, in the apologizing when you were wrong, in the slow, unglamorous, completely unheroic act of becoming a slightly better person than you were yesterday. That is modern heroism. That is heroism as most people experience it. Not as a single dramatic act, but as 1,000 small decisions. Not as a battle against evil, but as a battle against your own laziness, and your own fear, and your own impulse to quit. Not as saving the world, but as showing up to work on time, and being honest with the people who love you, and admitting when you have failed, and trying again, even when trying again feels impossible. Regular show says, that is heroism. Showing up is heroism. Trying is heroism. Growing up is heroism. Loving someone badly and learning to love them better is heroism. Getting your high school diploma at 25 is heroism. Staying at a job you do not love because people depend on you is heroism. Skipping through a park for centuries because a girl you loved 300 years ago thought skipping looked happy, that is heroism. The grandest, quietest, most invisible heroism there is. Adventure Time cannot say this. Not because it does not want to, because its framework does not allow it. In a world where heroism is defined by sword fights and quest completions and villain defeats, the quiet heroism of daily life becomes invisible. It becomes background. It becomes the thing that happens between adventures. And regular show says no. The quiet heroism is not the background. It is the foreground. It is the whole story. The adventures are just metaphors for the real heroism happening underneath. The real heroism is Rigby going back to school. The real heroism is Benson staying at the park. The real heroism is Mordecai picking up a paintbrush for the first time in years and deciding to be an artist again. The real heroism is ordinary people choosing, every single day, to keep trying. That is the fundamental insight that makes regular show better than Adventure Time. Not smarter, not more creative, not more acclaimed, better. Because it knows what heroism actually is. Because it shows you what heroism actually looks like. And what it looks like is not a boy with a sword. It is two 23-year-old groundskeepers who cannot stop playing video games, who cannot stop getting into trouble, who cannot stop making the same mistakes over and over, but who also cannot stop showing up, cannot stop trying, cannot stop caring about each other, and about the people around them, and about the small, imperfect, beautiful lives they are building one catastrophic day at a time. That is regular show. That is what it was for 8 seasons. That is what it still is, every night, when someone puts on an episode and closes their eyes and drifts off to sleep inside the warm, synthesizer-scored safety of a world where even the worst day ends in 11 minutes, and tomorrow is always a chance to try again. And there is something about that word, regular, the title itself. It is a statement of intent, a declaration of values. In a medium obsessed with the extraordinary, with the epic, with the unprecedented and the impossible, this show called itself Regular Show. It told you, in its name, what it believed, that the regular is enough, that the ordinary is enough, that you do not need to be extraordinary to be worth watching, that you do not need to go on adventures to live a meaningful life, that you do not need a destiny to have a story worth telling. The title is a dare. It dares you to watch a show called Regular and find it extraordinary. And the extraordinary thing is that you do. You watch these regular people doing regular things in a regular park, and something about it moves you. Something about it stays with you. Something about it makes you feel less alone in your own regular life. Because the show treated regularity with such care, with such attention, with such respect, that it revealed what was always there underneath. That the ordinary is miraculous, that the mundane is magical. That 2 guys playing video games on a Tuesday afternoon contains within it everything there is to say about friendship and love and time and growing up and being alive. Adventure Time promised you adventure, and it delivered. Every episode was an adventure. Every episode took you somewhere new. Every episode showed you something you had never seen before. That is a promise kept. That is a title honored. Regular Show promised you regularity, and it delivered something that looks like regularity on the surface, and contains the entire universe underneath. Every episode began in the regular, and found the extraordinary hiding inside it. Every episode showed you that the adventure was always there. In your kitchen, in your workplace, in the space between you and your best friend. You did not need to travel to the land of Ooh. You did not need to fight demons or explore dungeons or save kingdoms. The adventure was in the setting up of chairs. The adventure was in the returning of a library book. The adventure was in the mowing of a lawn. The adventure was in the living of a life. Regular Show did not promise you adventure. It promised you something better. It promised you that your life, your actual, regular, ordinary life, is already an adventure. You just have to see it right. You just have to look at the mundane with enough attention, and enough love, and enough honesty, and the mundane transforms into the extraordinary before your eyes. That is the show's ultimate gift. Not escape from your life, but return to your life with new eyes. With the understanding that what you have, what you already have, is enough. That is why people fall asleep to this show, not because it bores them, because it comforts them, because it tells them, in 244 different ways across 8 seasons, across 7 years, that the life they are living is the right life, that the friends they have are the right friends, that the jobs they hate and the relationships they fumble, and the mistakes they make, and the growth that comes too slowly, and the years that pass too quickly, all of it is the story, all of it is the adventure, all of it matters, and all of it will be okay. And maybe that is the deepest difference between these two shows. Adventure Time asks, what if the world were different? What if there were magic, and monsters, and candy kingdoms, and ancient evils? What if your life were an adventure? And those questions produce beautiful, imaginative, profoundly creative television. They produce a world that millions of people want to visit. They produce a show that makes you dream of being somewhere else, someone else, something else. Regular Show asks a different question, a quieter question, a harder question. It asks, what if your life, exactly as it is already enough? What if the people you already know are the right people? What if the place you already are is the right place? What if growing up slowly and imperfectly is not a failure but is, in fact, the whole point? What if the extraordinary is not somewhere else but right here, in the fountain that needs cleaning and the lawn that needs mowing, and the friend who drives you insane but who you would do anything for? That question does not produce a world you want to escape to. It produces a lens through which you see your own world differently. It produces not escape but perspective, not fantasy but clarity. And clarity, in the end, is more valuable than fantasy, because you wake up from fantasy. You carry clarity with you forever. Regular Show gave its audience clarity. It gave them the ability to look at their own regular, ordinary, unremarkable lives and see the extraordinary hiding inside them. It gave them the ability to look at their own messy, frustrating, imperfect friendships and see love hiding inside them. It gave them the ability to look at their own stuck, stagnant, going nowhere careers and see the seeds of growth hiding inside them. It gave them the ability to look at themselves, at their own laziness and cowardice and fear and inadequacy, and see the beginnings of heroism hiding inside them. That is what Regular Show did. That is what it does. That is what it will always do, for as long as there are people who need to hear that their regular lives are enough. And there will always be people who need to hear that. Because the world never stops telling you that you need to be more, that you need to be extraordinary, that you need to be the chosen one, that your story only matters if it is an adventure. Regular Show stands against that message, quietly, gently, firmly. It says, you are enough. Your story is enough. Your life is the adventure. And it always was. Both shows aired on the same network. Both shows premiered in the same year. Both shows ran for the better part of a decade. Both shows are beloved by millions. Both shows deserve their place in the history of animated television. But they are not the same show. They are not trying to do the same thing. And when you ask which one does what it is trying to do better, when you ask which one fulfills its own promise more completely, when you ask which one will still mean something to you at 3 in the morning when you cannot sleep and you need someone to tell you that everything is going to be okay, there is only one answer. There has only ever been one answer. It is the show that told you, in its very title, exactly what it was offering. Nothing extraordinary, nothing epic, nothing magical, just a regular show about regular people, living regular lives, and finding, within that regularity, everything that matters. J.G. Quintel once said that each episode of Regular Show took 9 months to produce. 9 months, the same time it takes to bring a child into the world. 244 episodes, 244 pregnancies, 244 births, each one crafted by hand on paper, each one drawn line by a team of 35 people who believed that a cartoon about 2 slackers at a park was worth spending 9 months of their lives on. That belief, that faith, that commitment to the ordinary, that is in every frame. You can feel it. When you watch Regular Show, you can feel that it was made by people who loved it, who cared about it, who thought that Mordecai and Rigby and Benson and Skips and Muscle Man and High Five Ghost and Pops deserved the best work they could give, who thought that you, the viewer, the person falling asleep at 2 in the morning, deserved their best work too. There is one final image to leave you with. It is from the last moments of Regular Show. The montage is over. David Bowie has finished singing. The characters have grown old. Their hair has grayed. Their bodies have changed. The years have done what years do, and they have come back. All of them. Back to the park. Back to the bench. Back to the place where everything started. They sit together, these old friends who were once young, and they look at the fountain and the grass and the sky, and they remember. They remember every supernatural disaster, every screaming match with Benson, every failed date and every embarrassing moment, and every time they almost died because they could not follow a simple instruction. They remember all of it, and they smile, because it was theirs, because it happened to them, because no one else in the universe lived exactly that life, and no one else ever will. And on the screen, simple white text appears, in memory of Pops. Not in memory of a chosen one, not in memory of a cosmic being, in memory of a kind man who liked butterflies, and laughed too easily, and was too gentle for the world he lived in. A man who saved the universe not through strength or cleverness or special powers, but through the radical, impossible act of loving someone who was trying to destroy everything he cared about. In memory of kindness, in memory of goodness, in memory of the simple, radical belief that being nice is not weakness. That being nice might be the hardest, bravest, most revolutionary thing a person can do. That is what Regular Show is about. At its core, underneath the baby ducks and the death punches and the omelet challenges and the stolen keyboards and the magical escalation, underneath all of it, it is about the belief that ordinary goodness, ordinary kindness, ordinary love between ordinary people is extraordinary, is enough, is the whole point of everything. And that is the whole argument. That is the whole case for why Regular Show is better. Not smarter, not bigger, not more creative or more ambitious or more praised. Better, because it told the truth, because it honored the ordinary, because it trusted that regular lives are extraordinary enough to sustain 244 episodes of television, because it respected its characters enough to let them grow up at their own pace, because it respected its audience enough to deliver a complete, satisfying experience every single time, because it looked at the gap between who we are and who we wish we were, the gap where most of us actually live our lives, and it found comedy and tragedy and beauty and meaning inside that gap. Because it did all of this for 7 years without wavering, without losing its voice, without forgetting what it was. Regular Show premiered on September 6, 2010, with The Power. It ended on January 16, 2017, with a regular epic final battle. 244 episodes, 8 seasons, 7 years. And in those 7 years, it told the most honest story about growing up that animated television has ever produced. It told it through a blue jay and a raccoon and a gumball machine and a yeti and a ghost and a lollipop man. It told it through video games and stolen keyboards and omelet challenges and baby ducks. It told it through heartbreak and failure and the slow, painful, beautiful process of becoming someone better than you were. It told it without pretense, without mythology, without hiding. It just told the truth, and the truth, as it turns out, is better than any adventure. That is why Regular Show is better than Adventure Time, not because it is smarter, not because it is more creative, not because it is more ambitious, because it is more honest, because it trusts that honesty is enough, because it knows that the most extraordinary thing in the world is an ordinary life, lived well, with people you love, and it spent 8 seasons proving it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.